Nepal prepares to strengthen security measures ahead of March 5 elections. Prime Minister Karki stresses civilian safety. Government hikes foreign employment medical fees. Associations call for immediate reversal. Nepal embraces natural births as C-section rates stay low. Maternal and neonatal outcomes remain below global averages. Sri Lanka shuts schools and government offices as devastating floods and landslides claim 56 lives. US President Trump labels DC shooting as act of terror and calls for tougher immigration crackdown. And Kathmandu Gorkhas beat Chitwan Rhinos by 53 runs in first NPL fixture today. Karnali Yaks facing Viratnagar Kings under floodlights. I am April Agisinglama and this is NTV World Primetime News coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Across the globe, it's 1:15 p.m. in London, 10:15 p.m. in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now, the news in detail. Nepal has begun finalizing security arrangements for the upcoming March 5 House of Representatives election. The authorities are preparing to confirm polling centers and determine the number of temporary police personnel required to ensure safe and orderly voting. Nepal Police says a detailed assessment is underway to estimate security needs across the country. With the addition of new voters and expanded polling stations, police officials anticipate the deployment of approximately 132,000 temporary police personnel. These temporary recruits, appointed in coordination with the Election Commission, will receive basic salary equivalent to police constables for a period of 40 days, along with uniforms, transportation, allowances, and other essential benefits. Nepal Police also plans to mobilize more than 71,000 regular officers nationwide for election duties. Once the Election Commission finalizes the official list of polling centers, district security committees will swiftly begin the recruitment process for temporary police, prioritizing security sensitivity across regions. The Central Security Committee has devised a three-phase security plan covering the pre-election period, election day, and the post-election phase. Now, Nepal's Prime Minister Sushila Karki has emphasized the pivotal role of the Nepali army in ensuring peace and stability as the country prepares for its House of Representatives election on March 5, 2026. During an inspection visit to the army headquarters in Bhadrakali of Kathmandu, the Prime Minister highlighted that maintaining law and order and guaranteeing a free, fair and fear-free election is a top national priority. Prime Minister Karki noted that the government has entrusted the security forces, particularly the army, with the responsibility of safeguarding the electoral process. She urged security agencies to work with zero tolerance for lapses, stating that no civilian should be harmed during the election period. Drawing on lessons from past elections, Karki called for enhanced coordination among all security bodies and asked them to assess emerging threats with precision. The Prime Minister also instructed the army to cooperate closely with police in recovering weapons that went missing or were looted during the Gen Z movement, ensuring national security and assisting in the arrest of fugitives. Now, during the briefing, the Nepali army presented an overview of the current security environment, major challenges, and its preparedness for election deployment. The government of Nepal's recent decision to raise medical examination fees for citizens seeking foreign employment has sparked strong opposition from the Nepal Forum of Democratic Foreign Employment Entrepreneurs, which warns the move will heavily burden low-income migrant workers. The new fee structure implemented on November 26 increases the cost of mandatory medical tests to 9,500 Nepali rupees, which is approximately $71 for all migrant workers. For those traveling to the United Arab Emirates, the fee has more than doubled from 4,500 Nepali rupees, which is about $34. While workers bound for other destinations will see costs rise to around $50. Reacting to the decision, the forum issued a statement today expressing deep concern that the price hike disproportionately affects the poor and marginalized communities that make up the majority of Nepal's migrant labor force. Forum President Deepak Thapa said the increase is especially troubling because the government has capped the total service charge for workers heading to Gulf countries and Malaysia at around $71. The forum has urged the government to immediately withdraw this decision. Kathmandu is piloting a new infrastructure ambulance system to rapidly repair damaged roads, potentially ending months-long waits for fixes. The app, currently being tested with road department staff, allows citizens to report potholes, cracks and other road damage using their mobile phones. When a photo is uploaded, the app automatically captures the location via GPS and maps it within the 472-kilometer road network, which includes national highways, feeder roads and strategically important routes. Once a report is registered, the road department's control center marks the site on Google Maps and repair teams are dispatched with the necessary equipment, personnel and materials. Officials say the system is expected to be accessible to the public within 6 months. They add that it will improve real-time tracking, accountability and response time, ensuring that everyday traffic disruptions caused by road damage are addressed promptly. Nepal's Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development has launched a nationwide agricultural survey aimed at generating comprehensive first-hand data to guide future agricultural policies and investments. The initiative is being carried out in coordination with local governments, provincial ministries and key national stakeholders. Chief of the ministry's statistics section, Ramkrishna Regni, says the government has introduced a one-door data collection system to eliminate duplication and ensure higher accuracy. The survey will capture detailed information on crop production, livestock, irrigation, marketing, income, infrastructure, and the cost of agricultural activities. Enumerators will meet farmers directly using a sampling-based approach. In the first phase, 600,000 farmers will be selected nationwide, with 51,000 of them surveyed in depth to document their experiences, access to government services and subsidies, and challenges they face within Nepal's evolving agricultural landscape. The final data set is expected to form a scientific basis for evidence-driven agricultural planning, helping Nepal enhance food security, improve farmer livelihoods, and design targeted support programs in a changing climate and market environment. Today, November 28, space enthusiasts and astronomers around the world are observing Red Planet Day, commemorating the historic 1964 launch of NASA's Mariner 4 spacecraft. Mariner 4 was the first mission to send back close-up images of Mars, providing humanity with its first detailed glimpse of the red planet. Mars has fascinated humans for centuries. In modern science, it remains a primary focus of exploration, with orbiters, rovers, and future missions aimed at studying its surface, climate, geology, and potential for past life. Beyond science, Mars holds significance in astrological traditions, where its movement and position are believed to influence human affairs and the natural world. Mars is commonly associated with energy, action, and ambition, reflecting its symbolic role in shaping personality traits and decisions in astrology. We take a closer look at what Mars represents scientifically and astrologically in our cover story in the later bulletin. Welcome back. The rapid growth of digital technologies, including computers, mobile phones, and the internet, has transformed communications and business in Nepal. However, this expansion has also brought a sharp rise in cybercrime and online harassment, particularly affecting women. According to Nepal police, the number of digital users in the country has reached 16.6 million, with 14.3 million active on social media. Cybercrime cases jumped 119% in fiscal year 2080, 81 BS, compared to 2079, 80 BS, with women accounting for 44.3% of victims. Online abuse ranges from harassing messages and comments to harmful social media posts impacting both private individuals and public figures. Experts note that digital platforms have made it easier than ever to communicate, conduct business, and mobilize people. The recent Gen Z movement demonstrated the power of social media as large groups coordinated protests nationwide. Legal professionals warn that current legislation is inadequate to address the surge in digital crimes. While the Electronic Transactions Act 2063 and the Criminal Code 2074 cover cyber offences, experts say more comprehensive laws are needed to protect victims and ensure timely justice. Meanwhile, following a sharp rise in cybercrime in Nepal, Kathmandu Metropolitan City KMC has launched a digital literacy program to help residents use online platforms safely. Spokesperson Nabin Manandar said the training will cover cybersecurity basics, strong passwords, one-time passwords, virus protection, and recognizing suspicious links. The first phase will begin in wards 17, 18, 19 and 29 before expanding citywide. With cybercrime cases up to 119% last year and women accounting for 44.3% of victims, the Kathmandu metropolis says the initiative aims to protect citizens and promote responsible digital use. As Nepal works to strengthen digital literacy and online safety amid rising cybercrime, the country is also showing progress in an entirely different area of public health. While catering deliveries are increasing worldwide, Nepal is bucking the trend. A report by Sabika Shrestha highlights how Nepalese hospitals are balancing modern medical interventions with traditional practices to promote maternal and child care.
Over the years, the way women bring new life into the world had changed both in Western countries and in Nepal, but the direction of the changes has been almost opposite. Globally, about 21% of babies are now born through C-section, a rate that has steadily increased over the years. However, in Nepal, the trend is quite different. Still, at the country's foremost maternity hospital, Paropakar Maternity Hospital, out of total deliveries, more than 55% are vaginal births. The data paints a clear picture of how women are giving birth today, which reflects the hospital's continued emphasis on natural delivery when safe and possible.
In context of Nepal, maximum mothers prefer normal vaginal delivery, and there's no doubt that normal vaginal delivery has more benefits. Cesarean section has lots of complications, might have lots of complications. It might lead to hemorrhage, surgical complications, and if the mother has to do another surgery for the next pregnancy, she again have to do cesarean section, or anyhow there are lots of complications of surgery. That's why normally mothers prefer normal delivery.
Experts emphasize the importance of balancing C-sections with natural births to ensure the safety and long-term health of both mothers and newborns. But in case of medical intervention for saving lives of mother and child, C-section is needed.
There are women who do not want cesarean section. They say they are too afraid of pain, and they are, earlier we used to say, too posh to push, they can't push. So that concept is there. They are coming up. So we have given a term for that, that is known as CDMR, that is cesarean delivery on maternal request. So these cases are also increasing. And another very important factor is there are lots of high-risk cases like diabetes in pregnancy, hypertension in pregnancy, and preterm births. All of these are increasing, and when they increase, we have to go for cesarean section. And similarly, heart diseases, incidence of heart disease is also high. So these factors have to be considered when we go for cesarean section. So
in Nepal, the C-section rate stands at around 18%, with a maternal mortality rate of 142 per 100,000 live births and neonatal mortality of 16.6 per 1,000 live births. While in the global context, there is 197 per 100,000 maternal mortality and neonatal mortality as null. Unlike in many Western countries where childbirth was once highly medicalized, Nepal still promotes vaginal birth than C-section. For generations, vaginal birth at home, guided by family or local helpers, was the norm. But with the improved hospital access, growing trust in medical professionals, and new ideas about safety and comfort, many families are now opting for hospital deliveries, and C-sections have become increasingly common. But still, the choice is upon the mother to choose C-section over natural birth. Home births, water births, and calm birthing environments are growing in popularity, while surgical births are reserved for cases where complications arise. In line with the global health mandate, the Paropakar Maternity Hospital has also midwife counseling services for safe motherhood and neonate care.
हाम्रो मेन फोकस भनेको चाहिँ नि हामीले नर्मल डेलिभरीको लागि चाहिँ नि इन्करेज गर्ने हो क्लाइन्टहरुलाई अनि उहाँलाई चाहिँ नि रेस्पेक्टफुल मेटर्निटी केयर हैन उहाँले चाहिँ नि आफ्नो इज्जत अनुसार चाहिँ नि उहाँले चाहिँ नि केयर पाउनुस् भन्ने चाहिँ नि हाम्रो मुख्य धारणा हो अहिले चाहिँ नि सीएस रेटहरु पनि एकदमै इन्क्रिजिङ नै छ त्यही भएर चाहिँ नि त्यसलाई कसरी घटाएर चाहिँ नि हामीले नर्मल डेलिभरीतिर चाहिँ नि हामीले उहाँलाई चाहिँ नि इन्करेज गर्न सक्छौं भन्ने चाहिँ नि हाम्रो मेन अब्जेक्टिभ भनेकै त्यही हो
Midwife counseling services for safe motherhood and neonate care. But doctors say vaginal birth was and always is a natural process since a woman's body is designed to bring new life into the world.
Both the surgical as well as vaginal delivery can be safe depending on the circumstances. But the safest option is the one which always prioritizes the health of a mother and a baby and also the situation at hand. I am Sabika Shrestha reporting for NTV World with camera person Samir Thapa.
As Nepal celebrates the success of safe natural childbirth in hospitals, the World Health Organization is drawing attention to a hidden struggle faced by many infertility after pregnancy, highlighting the need for care, support and accessible treatment worldwide. The World Health Organization has released its first ever guidelines to improve the prevention, detection and treatment of infertility, a condition affecting 1 in 6 people worldwide. The guidance provides a unified evidence-based framework to ensure care is safe, effective and accessible for all, emphasizing proper clinical management in diagnosis and treatment. Infertility, defined as the inability to achieve pregnancy after 12 months of unprotected sex, affects individuals across the regions and income levels. In many countries, patients bear the majority of treatment costs with a single round of IVF, sometimes exceeding twice the average annual household income and straining pockets. The historic Takamkot area in Dhaulagiri Rural Municipality 7, Myagdi, is attracting increasing numbers of domestic and international tourists, following improvements in road and trail infrastructure. Situated at about 2,500 meters, the site offers panoramic views of villages, hills and Himalayan peaks, including Dhaulagiri, Annapurna, Machapuchre, Nilgiri, Manapati, Gurja, Putha and Churin. Local officials attribute the growing visitor numbers to easier access made possible by recent infrastructure upgrades. Historically, Takamkot served as a power center for the Thapa rulers during the Boise Chobise era and was later incorporated into the Parbat kingdom by the Malla kings. The The temple complex still houses archaeologically significant weapons and statues of deities, adding historical value to the scenic site. Tourism authorities say that alongside natural beauty, Takam Court offers views of nearby villages such as Takam, Muna, Muna's Malika, Muri's Bagara and Malika rural municipality, making it an increasingly important cultural and tourist destination. We're going for a short break and we'll come back with updates from the international front. Do stay tuned. Sri Lanka has shut all government offices and schools as the death toll from floods and landslides across the country rose to 56. Weather in Sri Lanka turned severe last week and led to heavy downpours on Thursday, flooding homes, fields, roads and triggering landslides. More than 600 houses have been damaged so far, according to the officials. Over 25 people were killed in landslides, 21 were reported to be missing and 14 were injured in the central tea-growing regions of Badula and Nuwara Elia, located about 300 kilometers east of the capital city Colombo. The government's disaster management center highlighted. The Sri Lankan government announced the closure of all government offices and schools today, citing severe weather conditions across the country. Sri Lanka is currently experiencing the northeast monsoon season, but rains have intensified due to a depression cast off the island. Flooding and landslides across Indonesia's Sumatra island have killed at least 90 people this week and dozens more are missing, rescue officials said on Friday. Heavy rain has also caused flooding in Aceh, Indonesia's westernmost province, triggering landslides and prompting the evacuation of nearly 1,500 people, according to the local disaster agency. The annual monsoon season, typically between June and September, often brings heavy rains, triggering landslides, flash floods, and waterborne diseases. It has been exacerbated by a tropical storm in the region in recent days. The weather system has inundated parts of southern Thailand, killing dozens and trapping many in their homes. In Malaysia, it also brought heavy flooding and killed at least 2 people. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin has doubled down on his core demands for ending the war in Ukraine, saying Russia will lay down arms only if Kyiv's troops withdraw from territory claimed by Moscow. Putin has long pushed for legal recognition of the Ukrainian territories Russia has seized by force. They include the southern Crimean Peninsula, annexed in 2014, and the eastern Donbas region, which Moscow now occupies for the most part. For Kyiv, which has ruled out relinquishing the parts of the Donbas it still holds, rewarding Russia for its aggression is a non-starter. Speaking after Putin's address, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russia scorned efforts to truly end the war. He repeated his view that Russia has the initiative on the battlefield and the fighting would only end when Ukrainian troops withdrew from Donbas, which is made up of the Luhansk and Donetsk regions. Donald Trump has said he will permanently pause migration to the U.S. from all third world countries. The U.S. president wrote in a Truth Social post that the decision would allow the U.S. system to fully recover from immigration policies that had eroded the gains and living conditions of many Americans. He did not provide details of his plan or name which countries might be affected. Trump's comments come a day after an Afghan national was accused of shooting two members of the National Guard in Washington, D.C., one of whom has died. This and other announcements after the attack represent a further toughening of Trump's stance towards immigration, which has long been one of his key issues. We'll take a short break here. We'll be right back. Israeli forces carried out a raid overnight in Beijing, southern Syria, killing 10 people in what Syrian state media calls the deadliest Israeli operation since Bashar al-Assad's fall nearly a year ago. Syria says the dead include women and children, with some victims still trapped under rubble, and that dozens of families fled the village afterward. The IDF says the operation targeted Jamaat Islamiyah militants it claims were planning attacks on Israeli civilians. Israeli troops reportedly came under fire, prompting the use of ground forces and air support. Casualty identities remain disputed, with Syria insisting civilians were killed and Israel arresting its struck militants. The raid fits a broader pattern of intensified Israeli operations in southern Syria since Assad's ouster. Several places in North China encountered heavy snowfall brought by cold air, which seriously impacted local traffic. Blowing snow weather occurred at 10 on Thursday in Yiwi's country, Hami city of northwest China, Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, with gusts reaching force 10 that could reach 20 meters per second, severely impacting local transportation. This also led to an accumulated snow of over 30 centimeters on some roads, with more than 90 vehicles trapped. As soon as they knew the situation, local police rushed to the scene with snow removal tools and helped vehicles to pass snowy stretches of road. Intense snowfall also hit Hegang city of North China's Heilongjiang province on Wednesday. In its urban area, local authorities deployed staff and machinery to clear the snow right away to ensure travel, safety and normal production. Time for sports update. Kathmandu Gorkhas won against Chitwan Rhinos by 53 runs in the first match of the day under the Nepal Premier League. Batting first after losing the toss, Kathmandu Gorkhas set a target of 143 runs. However, Chitwan Rhinos was all out after scoring 89 runs in 17.2 overs. With this win, Kathmandu, which has played 5 matches, has collected 6 points. Put into bat after losing the toss at the TU International Cricket Ground in Kirtipur, it was dismissed for 142 runs in 19.4 overs. For Chitwan, Sohail Tanvir claimed 4 wickets, with Kamal Singh Edi and Ranjit Kumar taking 2 wickets each. Chasing a target of 143 runs, Dev Kanal and Ravi Bhopra scored 21 runs each for Chitwan, while apart from Sohail Tanvir, who scored 18 runs, no batsman could reach double figures. With the win, Kathmandu has risen to 3rd place with 6 points in the table. Kathmandu has played 5 games, winning 3 and losing 2. Chitwan, under the captainship of Kushal Malla, played 4 games, winning 2 and losing 2. Now with this, Chitwan has fallen on 4th place. Now, Viratnagar Kings just a while ago has emerged victorious by 3 wickets, defeating Karnali Yaks in the second match of NPL today. Moving on, in a groundbreaking display of human endurance and international sportsmanship, Nepali and American wrestlers competed at Tilicho Lake, which is about 4,919 meters in north-central Nepal, the world's highest altitude sporting venue. The event, dubbed Clash of the Titans, featured top athletes from both countries facing extreme Himalayan conditions, including thin air, frigid temperatures, and rugged terrain. Despite these challenges, the wrestlers showcased extraordinary skill, determination, and resilience. Organizers say the competition not only highlighted Tilicho Lake's stunning natural beauty, but also set a new benchmark for high-altitude sports, promoting sportsmanship between nations. The event also aimed promotion of adventure tourism in Nepal's Upper Mustang Manang region, a hub for Himalayan trekking and extreme sports. Now, Iran is to boycott next week's World Cup finals draw in Washington because the United States refused to grant visas to several members of the delegation, the Iranian Football Federation announced on Friday. As per reports, the Iranian Football Federation has informed FIFA that the decision has nothing to do with sports, and the members of the Iranian delegation will not participate in the World Cup draw. Earlier, it was said the United States had declined issues visas to several members of the delegation, including the president of the federation, Mehdi Taj. On Thursday, Taj had denounced the decision as being a political one. The United States, which is co-hosting the FIFA World Cup 2026 with Canada and Mexico, and Iran have begun at loggerheads for over 4 decades. Now, before wrapping up, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nepal prepares to strengthen security measures ahead of March 5 elections. Prime Minister Karki stresses civilian safety. Government hikes foreign employment medical fees. Associations call for immediate reversal. Nepal embraces natural births as C-section rates stay low. Maternal and neonatal outcome remain below global averages. Sri Lanka shuts schools and government offices as devastating floods and landslides claim 56 lives. US President Trump labels DC shooting as act of terror and calls for tougher immigration crackdown. And Kathmandu Gorkhas beat Chitwan Rhinos by 53 runs in first NPL fixture today. Karnali Yaks facing Viratnagar Kings under floodlights. That is all from NTV World Primetime News for now. Our next bulletin will be at 10 p.m. bringing you the latest updates from Nepal and around the globe. Do join us through our social media and our official website www.nepaltelevision.com. I am April Singh Lama. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Bhutan has been a fantastic trip so far.
People come here mainly for the main target species, and because birds are more easily seen.
Yungi khatoine training khandi gamdi the auto si jinsomdi the najimbale dang miselde name sam phento yoro shin.
In the valley nestled beneath the sky, where the snowy mountains reach high, the Sukteng Wildlife Sanctuary grows with life. The land of Yeti, as the people of Sukteng calls it, with tales and myths that flow through the unique culture of nomadic tribes in eastern Bhutan.
This part of Bhutan is the home to the Brokpa people, an ethnic minority of yak herders who migrated from southern Tibet in the 13th century.
The pastoral community was once home to a man with a dream. However, tragedy took place when the man was a victim of a fatal car accident. His death had a devastating effect on his family. His daughter, Ngawang Chensom, had to give up on her education. Her mother, Leki Dema, grieved and felt sad for the challenges she is facing.
Rango be intention ya lumbegi is when alham thosong dazine chige have to midi nilam nalamaton tanoine chige have to midi the same man.
Why do I care so much for this place? Why am I supposed to stay here? I don't know what exactly is waiting for me in this sanctuary. There must be a reason why I cannot bear to leave my village. I live in harmony with the land, a timeless rhythm so great, and my paths, although unknown, and a life without hindrance that I grew up. As I travel across this land, I see the beauty, the clean air, the majesty of nature so difficult to ignore.
Ni sa than lu khan gamdi sing moto da ke na thukina or pethong sing tene besing shupsing the moto da ke thubina le yu thar ko gi am me lokang yu shen the inji da chi thon prugu su me the mi che tu ka o da me no ba tin the same shon the yu kang yu the inji da chi the os nom so khal da os chogina.
Sukteng is a wild haven where red pandas, Himalayan black bear, snow leopard, and musk deer hide in the forests. This is a land of myths and mysteries intertwined in perfect harmony.
And my zone is, and then as we go higher up, we're going to get the trogopans and monals and blood pheasants. So it's people come here mainly for the main target species, and because birds are more easily seen in Bhutan than other parts, so Bhutan has got more charm to looking at the birds out here.
Rising in the early hours, my heavenly dream fades with the rising sun. Descending the stairs of my happy homestay, a familiar scene reminds me the wealth of our local handlooms.
The masata rutain test.
The check out doki.
The pop down church. Oh, it wasn't time issues. Mr. Yeah,
In a closet, hidden away, lies my collection. Colorful and cheerful memories of costumes ready to play. Drawn by the sounds of music, I like to see a group of women dancing to the rhythm of old songs. It made me feel lost in the pace and movement of the dance. Getting back on track, singing and dancing really brings the sense of togetherness and love for the traditions in my community. While walking in the peaceful village of Sakteng, I could not help but feel a sense of reverence in the air. Residents spoke about sacred religious sites dotting the landscape.
Crops struggled to survive in the mountains. Now, with the introduction of greenhouse, fresh vegetables are taking flight to serve visitors to Ngawang Chensom's homestay.
A few local delicacies in the local alcohol.
By adapting to the challenges of climate change and finding new ways to grow food sustainably, she contributes to securing a bright future for her community and the planet. All is well in the village of Sakteng, but with a growing population and increasing number of shops, the pressure on waste management becomes a challenge. Ngawang's decision to stay at home reflects the value of the preservation of cultural heritage and natural resources. By promoting sustainable tourism, we can make tourism work for everyone and appeal to future generations.
This is my first time visiting any Asian country. I'm very impressed with the beauty of Bhutan, the landscapes, the mountains, the valleys. The people have been very friendly, and the weather's been nice for us. Everything's just been lovely here.
Although they bid farewell to this beautiful song, we could see their emotions that they do not express or hide. Here, everyone's eyes are sparkling and glowing with happiness. These people, their culture and their environment have touched Ngawang's heart that she will never forget to go back to her village with hopes and aspirations.
At every bend of the serpentine Bheri River, a new face of nature emerges. Each turn revealing a beauty so varied and mesmerizing that it moves the heart moment by moment. Traveling from Chinchu of Surkhet through Jare and Mehelkuna toward Gorbakot, the Bheri displays its quiet miracles. Over its crystal blue flow drifts the rustle and chirping of dozens of birds. The whisper of nearby trees merges with the vast blue sky, reflecting a harmony of natural splendor. Cutting through Chinchu, heading along the proud and scenic terrain of Gorbakot, our thoughts find themselves racing steadily along the Madan Bhandari highway toward Lake Besi in Surkhet. Our destination, the Raute settlement. We seek to observe closely the lifestyle of this indigenous group, long perceived as distant. We hope to feel a sense of closeness with a community rarely encountered, where the Raute, in their most authentic form, stand before us to share their stories. The Raute have cultivated a unique identity as Nepal's nomadic ethnic group. If someone in their settlement dies, they immediately abandon that location and do not return for 10 years, a tradition that makes permanent settlement extremely challenging. Their temporary homes are built by fixing wooden stakes into the ground, tying cross pieces, and covering the structure with old cloth and tarpaulin.
सधैँभरि यो पुर्खा मेरो पुर्खौली त्यस्तो छ त्यस्तो नभइदिए भए एक ठाउँमा बस्ने थियो एक ठाउँमा नभए यो हजुरलाई हल्दुवार यो घर बनाउँछौँ त्यस्तो घर हामी मन पर्दैन मेरो मन परेको यो यस्तै तिरपाल ताँगाको राम्रो हुन्छ हामीले यस्तै मन पराउँछ यही गाडो लगाएर राम्रो मान्छौँ अब पहिला हेर्न जानु पर्यो पहिला सबै त्यो हेर्न तपाई आफै यो हामी आफू त जाँदैन केटाउरु जान्छ त केटाउरु गएर फेरि हेरेर ठाउँ राम्रो छ कि नराम्रो छ कि भनेर ठाउँ यो जहाँ ठाउँ राम्रो भयो त्यही जाने यस्तै पाखामा को बस्न सक्छ र यस्तै समूह जग्गा चाहियो.
Especially during winter, protecting themselves from the cold becomes difficult. They sleep on the bare ground with only thin tarpaulins, not enough clothing to cover their bodies fully. Men wear a loincloth and wrap their backs with coarse cloth, knotted in front and falling to the thighs, with a cap or a small turban on their heads. Women wear a short, patterned skirt of rough fabric and a handmade blouse that covers only part of the torso and chest. Women adorn themselves with earrings, necklaces and bracelets made of iron, brass and aluminum. When we visited in late Kartik, the cold had already set in, yet the Raute sat on the ground as usual. Even when ill, they rely solely on their chieftain, traditional healing practices and herbal remedies. The Raute tell that the community consists of 3 clans, Katyal, Raskoti and Samalvanshi Shahi. According to the national census of 2021, Raute population stands at 566. It was 618 in the 2011 census.
बात यो कोही मान्छे यो पहिला त आया थिएन अब आजभोलि त यो सामान पनि आउँछ भट्टा पनि लाग्यो हो कि होइन सामान पनि आउँछ यो तिरपाल पनि आउँछ ब्ल्याङ्केट आउँछ खाना पुग्यो त भइयो अब भोकै मरेको छैन के अरे बाहिरबाट आयो भने कामधारी त गर्नु पर्यो हो कि होइन त्यो काम कुशी बनाउनु पर्यो मधुस बनाउनु पर्यो खाद बनाउनु पर्छ अब दराजहरू हामी बनाउँदैन हजुर.
Traditionally, the Raute have lived in the forests, ravines and riverbanks of districts like Dailek, Jajarkot, Surkhet, Acham, Salyan, Dang and Kalikot. They dwell in the wilderness, hunt monkeys and carve wooden utensils which they exchange for grain in nearby villages. It's a cycle that sustains their livelihood. The Raute have distinct marriage customs. After marriage, a separate area is set aside for the couple. According to Raute belief, a widow should not remarry after her husband's death. Marriages occur strictly within their own community between Raute youths. Apart from cooking pots at home, an axe for cutting trees, and a chisel-like tool for shaping wood, the Raute do not store belongings. Men prefer to hunt monkeys using traps, while women gather wild roots and tubers. With just an axe and chisel, they craft wooden utensils. Once, the Raute believed touching money would bring misfortune. They also avoided speaking with outsiders. But today, they readily ask anyone for money, an indicator of the slow transformation in their lifestyle and consumption habits.
मेरो नाम फुलमाया
कति वर्षको भयो
म 18 भयो
अनि स्कुल जान्छ जाँदैन
स्कुल त जान थियो पहिला त जान दिएन आज बोले पनि स्कुल जान दिन्न
कसले
मुखियाले
किन नि
मुखियाले नि पढ्न लेख्न दिन्न त
किन होला त त्यस्तो
खै के पो होला नि मुखियाले दिन्न नि पढ्न जान त मन त लाग्छ तर पढ्न दिन्न.
In recent years, increasing dependence on alcohol has begun to create serious health issues within the community.
कहीं न कहीं यो यहाँ जंगल में बसने बाजार हेर्न जाने भरु किस्टोडा आडा माइने मान्छेमा कसैले बजारको नसाई हुन्छ त्यो नास हेर्न जाने कसैले यो मौसुक लाग्छ त्यस्तो मौसुक यो जंगलबाट मौसुक हेरे भने झन् आउन मान्छे यो मेरो परिवर्तन नगर्ने मान्छे परिवर्तन गरेको कहिले पनि राम्रो भन्दैन हामी मेरो पुर्खैबाट यो परिवर्तन नगरेको मान्छे परिवर्तन गरेको यो पैसा चाहिँ आँखाले पैसा चिनेटा भइहाल्यो.
Nepal's constitution not only recognizes the equal existence, rights and dignity of all ethnic groups, but also ensures fair protection, upliftment, empowerment and development of marginalized and endangered communities. The state has pledged equal distribution of economic, social and cultural opportunities with special provisions for the protection and advancement of disadvantaged people within minority groups. Although the federal and provincial governments have introduced various programs for the Raute community in recent years, the lives of the Raute have yet to see the meaningful improvement envisioned.
Private education and public education, we're clearly creating two different sorts of human resource. And then it ultimately culminates into sending two types of workforces as well. We're creating workforces, one for the Gulf nations that solely work to make a living, the other to the developed countries who either go there for education, higher education, or skilled jobs. Where are we lagging?
We are at in a world where I think you wouldn't be in a position to say that nationalize everything, government should run all the schools, and then So all the private schools are shut down, and that's how you're gonna create equality. I think we've heard those kind of political, social, economic voices also, but that has not translated into reality. So what is the workable solution in that case? It's only that we improve the quality of public schools. It's only through improving the public school system that you can sort of like bridge that gap. What do you need to do? There are a lot of things. Invest in infrastructure, like healthcare we talked about. We need to improve the infrastructure of education. We need to continue to provide support to educators. With this recent change of federalism, there has again been the gap created where the school teachers feel there's lack of support system now than it used to be in the past, which is very unfortunate.
Welcome to NTV World Insight. In September this year, the country faced its worst unrest in decades, leading to Prime Minister's resignation and raising serious political and economic uncertainty. Nepal's growth has averaged just 4.3% in recent years. Youth unemployment is almost 23%, and a significant portion of GDP comes from remittances, which have prevented around 2.5 million people from falling into poverty. Public investment remains weak, with capital spending at less than 8% of the GDP last year, far below the 10 to 15% that is expected for infrastructure. A recent report by the World Bank has projected economic growth will go down to 2.1% in 2026 before rebounding to 4.7% the year later. Today we discuss how Nepal can restore stability, accelerate reforms and unlock growth with the World Bank Division Director for Nepal, Maldives and Sri Lanka, David Sislin. Welcome to NTV World Insight.
Great to see you again, Sarah.
How long has it been since you came to Nepal, personally or professionally altogether?
It's been just about 18 months so far. It's been the best 18 months of my professional career. And yeah, lots of changes in that 18 months. So very different Nepal today in many respects from a political point of view particularly than what I encountered when I moved here a year and a half ago.
So we've hosted you quite well.
It's been fantastic, absolutely.
When you are free, what do you like doing here in Nepal?
Look, I am an avid golfer, so I spend a lot of time at Gokarna hitting golf balls and cursing because it's a very difficult place to play golf. And I ride my motorcycle around a little bit, and mostly I spend a lot of time reading about Nepal, its history, its politics, and learning as much as I can about this incredible place.
Apart from golf, is there any other place that you really like to hit to?
You know, I would say that since I'm here without my family and I'm here alone, many of the bartenders in Kathmandu know me well. So I do spend some time out with my friends, enjoying the incredible nightlife in the city.
All right, to begin with, the country partnership framework, the $2.7 billion support project for Nepal. How is it going so far?
Oh, thanks. That's a great question. Look, the World Bank has a long-term partnership with Nepal. We've been here for more than 60 years. We currently have a portfolio program of about $2.2 billion spread across almost 20 projects, ranging from health to education to infrastructure to youth employment. And that has really, I think, reflects the deep engagement that we have in the country. Our new program that, as we talked about the last time you and I saw each other, is a long-term commitment, a 7-year commitment to the country, is really exciting, mostly because it focuses laser-like on what we think is the most critical issue for the country, and that is jobs. Jobs for youth, but jobs more broadly. Getting an economy that is really driving growth through the private sector and creating jobs is so central to the development challenges of Nepal. And I think we learned a lot about that in September, right? How just truly critical it is. In this coming year, I'll just say that we are really excited because we have a couple of operations that we really think will help jumpstart the jobs agenda. So working with the DCGF, the Development Credit Guarantee Facility, a major investment program in Lumbini, the birthplace of Buddha, and some really exciting work that we hope to start in the coming months around improving air quality in the Kathmandu Valley. So really exciting times, lots of work ahead.
Nepal's public debt, as mentioned in your latest report, is increasing from 43.6% in 2025 to 45.2% in 2026. May I ask how much Nepal currently owes the World Bank, and as a Nepali citizen, how much do I, as an individual, owe to the World Bank?
Let me try to put in a little bit of context, though. I think we're at a time where Nepalis are very critical of the public sector and very critical of the government. But I think one of the things that Nepal and Nepalis should be incredibly proud of is the steady, mature, and really world-class macroeconomic management that has taken place over the last decade. Nepal remains at low risk of debt distress. This means that compared to other countries, compared to comparator countries, it is actually doing very well in terms of not borrowing too much money. That increase that you said, a little bit up, is something to be conscious of and to be focused on. But the biggest challenge in Nepal is not the amount of debt, but turning that debt into productive investment, making sure that when you are borrowing from the World Bank or the ADB or the markets or Nepalis themselves, that you are really able to make investments that deliver returns. Now, Nepal, yes, the overall amount of debt that the Republic of Nepal has increased a little bit, but the profile of that debt is very concessional. It's extremely long-term, and the bulk of it, especially the bulk of the international debt, is coming from multilateral development institutions like the World Bank and the ADB. So that's extremely long-term, 30-plus year debt at very, very concessional rates. So there's good debt and there's bad debt, but the most important thing, as I mentioned, is turning that debt, turning that borrowing into development results. And I think that a lot of what we saw in September is frustration, especially among the youth, about not seeing those investments materialize and turn into the kind of results that drive growth and development.
How has it been for you working with the bureaucracy and the government? Is it easy?
Not a question I was expecting from you, Sarah, but thanks for asking. Look, I am amazed every day at the dedication, hard work, and commitment of the civil servants and people in the system, both the politicians and the civil servants. And I say that honestly. Now, I feel sometimes that they're fighting against a system that is overly complex, that is overly difficult to manage. So one of the, I just give an example. It is so difficult to get infrastructure built in Nepal. It just simply takes so long. And that's not because good people of goodwill in the system are not working really hard, because they are working really hard and trying really hard, but the rules are too complex, they're Byzantine. I give the example because we talk about it a lot, but in Nepal, to get a tree cutting clearance, if you want to widen a road or build a piece of critical infrastructure, requires a cabinet approval. There are few countries, I would suspect there is no country in the world where the prime minister needs to weigh in on the cutting of a few trees so that you can widen a critical piece of infrastructure. So I really think that part of the challenge for Nepal is making the kind of policy, legal, institutional, and regulatory reforms that will actually allow those people in the system to deliver the kind of development results that Nepalis are asking for.
When you talk about the tree cutting requirement, conservationists would not accept it, or they would conflict.
Look, there's been Nepal is one of the most successful countries in increasing its forest cover, right? The increase in forest cover from the 1970s to today, I forget what the number is, but has been world-class. We're now at a time where actually Nepal's biggest challenge is not in increasing its forest cover, but in doing two things: converting that incredible assets of forests into productive use, and second, making the kind of infrastructure investments that will allow growth and development to really take off. You talked about the growth rate of being at 4.3% in your intro. That is simply too low. Nepal needs to get that 7 and 8% of growth rate if it wants to reach escape velocity, to get out of this lower income and soon to be lower middle income world that it's living in.
The non-performing loan ratio increased from 3.9% to 4.6% in 2025. What immediate steps would you suggest Nepal should take to reduce the financial sector's vulnerabilities?
Right, so great question, and this is really about the domestic financial sector, the domestic banks. I think it's important to put in, so yes, we've seen a little bit of an uptick in non-performing loans, and this is troubling. But we do need to put in the context. The banking sector in Nepal is quite healthy. Capital adequacy ratios are high and acceptable, and profitability remains solid. But this increase in NPLs and non-performing loans is troubling because it starts to constrain credit growth. And we know that credit growth, lending to private enterprise for making investments and building businesses, is central to the development trajectory in the country. So a little bit troubling. Overall, not a worrying situation in the banking sector right now, but I think it underpins the broader challenge in the country, which is that we don't see investment, either by the public sector or by the private sector, and here we're talking about the private sector largely, as being enough and fast enough. So making sure that, that remittance money that's coming in is really being translated into investment and not just consumption. Investment levered by banking loans and not just consumption.
These are all very interconnected. Remittances support our economy, yes.
Absolutely.
But we're trying to also raise jobs. How do we come about, changing the scenario for Nepal? Because definitely, if we continue to be dependent on remittances, it's not going to be sustainable.
Well, you've touched on what I really think, Sarah, is the central story in the Nepali economy. Okay, and it's nuanced. It has good and bad. It's not black or white. Let's be very clear. Nepal has reduced extreme poverty faster than almost any country in human history. So when I started my career in the World Bank, extreme poverty in Nepal was 55%. And today it is 0.37%. It's almost zero extreme poverty. That's at a low level. And that has happened almost exclusively because of this remittance flow. Last month, 200 billion rupee, about $1.5 billion US dollars, came in remittances. Right? This is $2 million US dollars per hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a month. I mean, a remarkable story. But it hasn't translated into investments, private sector growth, and job creation that we really wanted to see. It's not a bad thing, remittances. It has been the lifeline of the country. It has been the backbone of the country's growth and development story. But as this country becomes more urbanized, as people are having less babies, as that demographic bulge starts to pivot, it will be really important to translate or translate into a situation where jobs are created in the country. We have 2,000 young Nepalis a day leaving the country to work abroad. So you asked me about my time here in Nepal. So I've been here for 18 months, and you can do the math. If 2,000 Nepalis a day are leaving the country, in the short 18 months that I've lived in Bulanilkanta, almost 800,000 Nepalis have left the country to work abroad. So this is something that has been the lifeline of the country and will continue to be very important, but we really need to complement it with opportunities in Nepal. We need to give young Nepalis the choice. Do you want to go work abroad, or do you want to pursue a career with good opportunities here in the country? So I really think this is the central challenge of the economy.
When we talk about the use of remittances, the contribution and the importance that it holds, where do you think is the gap in actually using it in sectors that could materialize into something bigger?
Great. It's a great question. I don't have the answer. What is clear is that that massive remittance flow that we talked about, and again, remittances are about 50 times the amount of ODA, of money that comes from the World Bank and the ADB and development partners. So it's 50 times more money every year is coming in remittances, but right now it's mostly being used for consumption. And that's been fantastic. It's paying for private schools, it's paying for private health care, it is paying for your cousin's scooter or your mother's scooter or a television or putting food on the table. But what we're not seeing it translate into is Nepalis whose son, daughter, cousin, mother is abroad taking that money and making productive investments. Because I think there's such concern about the difficulty in running a business in the country. The business environment is not what it should be. That is so challenging. So turning that remittance flow into both productive private investment and also making sure that the government can make use of those resources to make productive public investment is the investment challenge.
Growth is projected to fall to 2.1% in 2026 before recovering to 4.7% in 2027. What do you think can be done to cushion in the short run this downturn?
Right. So we are regrettably projecting a quite significant downturn in growth, largely as a result of the events of September. And the main channel of that has been through the tourism sector. Right, we're seeing a significant decrease in tourism. I think it was down 18% in September and into October, and really expecting that if we see a smooth and peaceful political transition, and if we see the continuation of a serious reform agenda to make that business environment that we just talked about more compelling, to attract foreign direct investment, to reduce red tape, to get much more clarity on issues like taxation and customs, that we would see a return to significantly higher level of growth. We're projecting 4.7 in next year, but still that remains too low, right? I mean, we really need to think about how Nepal can get to that 7, 8, 9% growth rate. There are some really exciting green shoots, really exciting things that we're seeing happening, particularly in the IT space. So in the last few weeks, we saw the first Nepali firm listed on the NASDAQ, right? This is incredibly exciting stuff. More of that faster is what Nepal really needs.
Public capital stock fell about 75% of the GDP in the mid-1990s to about 54% in 2019. Is this drop alarmingly concerning for our country?
Look, it's definitely a problem. We know globally that there are really two factors that drive economic growth. The growth in the public capital stock and what we call total factor productivity, or how you turn your factors like capital, like your people, into productive assets. And on both of these fronts, Nepal has some significant challenges, right? The big issues in the education system that we know about, that means that our human capital is not delivering, and a downturn in the investment in capital investment reflected in the budget, and also how much of the government money is actually spent, that has been a real problem. So we've seen the actual execution of the public investment. So when the government budgets 100, the amount that they actually are able to spend over the course of a year has actually come down over time. So not only is the government budgeting less for capital investment, but it's spending less of the money that it's budgeted. And so as a result, fewer roads are getting built, fewer airports are getting upgraded, fewer hospitals and schools, and all of the kind of critical infrastructure that we know makes up that capital stock is actually being delivered for the Nepali people.
Foreign direct investment inflows also remain subdued in recent years. What do you think can Nepal do to attract more investment, especially considering all the political uncertainty and also considering the Gen Z movement?
Yeah, I think the troubling issue with foreign direct investment in Nepal is that the low levels of FDI today are not a reflection of the events of September. It has been a really troubling trajectory of very, very low levels of FDI over time. And this is something, again, we talked a little bit about this. We want to see Nepalis invest in Nepal, but bringing technology and investment from abroad is actually really central to getting that total factor productivity that I talked about raised. And we see very, very low levels of it. And there's a number of reasons for it, right? One is political and policy uncertainty. If I'm a foreign investor and I'm not sure if the government is going to change in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or multiple times over the next year, I'm going to be hesitant to invest. So political stability and policy stability is really critical. Clarity on issues like taxes is really critical. Honoring the trade agreements that the country has is really critical. So giving the policy environment that people are willing to make the investments in, willing to take my money from abroad and put into Nepal, is absolutely central. The poor quality of infrastructure in the country remains a major drag on things like foreign direct investment. I give you an example. 28% of agricultural production is lost in transit inside Nepal just because of the poor quality of infrastructure, the lack of storage, etc. So if I'm a foreign investor thinking about making a major agribusiness investment, am I going to choose Nepal, where the roads, the bridges, the airports, the quality of infrastructure is so poor, or am I going to think about somewhere else where my money is safer because of the lack of capital stock? So really, many of the questions that you've asked really have this thread that ties through them. Right?
So this is recent. Some time back, the World Bank, through IDA, ADB and Switzerland launched a 3-year partnership to strengthen Nepal's disaster risk management and build climate-resilient infrastructure. How will this partnership move forward, and who will it benefit?
Super excited about it because our collaboration with the ADB particularly is a centerpiece of our engagement here. I think that's something that is very important. We really try to work as one team to support the government of Nepal in its development journey. And we've been really fortunate to be able to partner with the government of Switzerland, who's been providing a significant amount of grant resources around this issue of climate change, climate adaptation, being able to deal with disaster risk in a more sustainable and thoughtful way. So Nepal is one of the countries that is most exposed to disaster risk, both from earthquakes but also from things like flooding. And so being able to partner with Switzerland and the ADB in embedding thoughtful disaster risk management approaches in all of the infrastructure, both that we finance but that the government supports, is very important. We talked earlier about the CPF. Our CPF has 2 and only 2 foci. One is jobs that we talked about, and the second is reducing the risks from natural disasters. So these are really 2 pillars of our engagement here at the World Bank in Nepal.
The World Bank has approved $150 million for the 3rd Bridges Improvement and Maintenance Program. The goal, as mentioned, is to build climate-resilient bridges with real-time monitoring to make critical road networks safer and more reliable, especially in disaster-prone areas. How is the project rolling so far?
Just started, but I think the story on bridges is a great one. Again, I think too much we focus on all the problems. We really need to focus on the fact that from 2012 to 2024, the World Bank supported the maintenance and construction of over 44,000 bridges throughout the country. So this new bridge program builds on 12 years of real success on doing that. I think what's exciting about this one is that we really are bringing these issues around disaster risk management and resilience much more centrally into how we think about how the government plans, builds, and maintains its infrastructure.
David, thank you so much for being on NTV World Insight.
Thanks so much.
And thank you, too, for watching the show. Do join us on our social media pages. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and also on YouTube. And also visit our official website, nepaltelevision.com, for more news and information. Until next time.
AI brings in a lot of augmentation and efficiency gains, which will not necessarily replace the human, but produce a lot more efficient human, almost like a superhuman, where the person will be able to do more jobs in less amount of time. And that efficiency gains could impact overall economic output, which could then generate a lot more new kind of jobs.
Will they be a misfit in near future?
More and more people should learn how to use some of these tools, because if you don't use it, I don't know if misfit is the word, but you will be left behind.
Nepal's festivals are like colors on a canvas. Communities celebrate occasions that are as diverse as the country itself. These festivals hold deep personal meaning for individuals, going far beyond mere celebration. They are not just events. They are emotional, cultural, and spiritual lifelines that nurture identity, community, and inner happiness. For Nepalis, every festival, whether it honors gods, ancestors, nature, or the cycle of seasons, is ultimately a celebration of life itself. Birth, life, and death are all celebrated with utmost joy and separate rituals as per the communities. It's a reminder that life, like the changing seasons, is full of both light and shadow, and each festival teaches to embrace both with gratitude.
हरेक चाडपर्वमा एउटा एउटा हैन धान रोप्दा फेरि खेतमा हामी पूजा गरेर हुन्छौं धान थन्काउँदा हामीले हवन गरेर हुन्छौं नुहाई खाने भनेर भनिन्छ नवान्न प्राशनको विधानहरू छुट्टै छ त्यो सम्पूर्ण कुराहरूले हाम्रो प्रकृतिमा पनि त्यति नै सुप्रभाव पार्छ र मान्छेको शरीरमा मनमा र आत्मासम्म पनि यसले सुप्रभाव पार्छ आनन्द दिन्छ सत र चित राम्रो आनन्द र चिरकालसम्म रहने टिकाउ आनन्द दिन्छ भन्ने मान्यताले गर्दा फेरि यो सबै चाडपर्वहरू हामी मनाइरा हुन्छौं.
Major Hindu celebrations like Dasai and Tihar unite families in devotion and joy and is celebrated by majority of Nepalis. While Buddha Jayanti, Loshar, Sakela Udhauli, Shakela Ubhauli, Maghi Shankranti or Maghi showcase the spiritual and cultural vibrancy of Buddhist, Kirat and indigenous communities. Festivals such as Indrazatra, Gaizatra and Yomari Punhi blend history with celebration. For women, Teej and Rishi Panchami serve as expressions of faith and sisterhood. And in the Tarai, Chhat embodies purity, discipline and devotion to the sun and nature.
भौगोलिक हिसाबले सानो भइकन फेरि कस्तो भने जात जातिको हिसाबले पनि थुप्रै ट्राइबहरू भएको यो सबै एउटै जातिको मात्रै छैन तर हामीका धार्मिक सहिष्णुता छ रिलिजियस टलरेन्स भन्छौं त्यो विश्वलाई हामीले दिएको एउटा उदाहरण हो हामीका हिन्दूहरूको चाडपर्व पनि बौद्धहरूले पनि मनाउँछन् इस्लामहरूले पनि मनाइराखेका हुन्छन् नितान्त हिन्दूहरूको जस्तो लक्ष्मी पूजाको कुरा गर्यो दशैंकी कुरा गर्यो यहाँ राष्ट्र प्रमुखहरूको बेलामा हिन्दूहरू बाहेक अन्य धर्मावलम्बीहरू पनि टीका थाप्नलाई हामीका आशीर्वाद लिने चलन छ त्यो लिनलाई गइराखेका हुन्छन्.
Festivals here reflect its rich cultural diversity and deep sense of community. Shared laughter, music and rituals foster emotional healing and strengthen social bonds. Experts say gatherings and celebrations nurture positivity, hope and meaning.
यो त एकदमै ठुलो कस्तो कुरा रहेछ भने यो रिचार्ज गर्ने भन्छ नि हामी गरिरहेको परम्पराबाट गरिरहेको यस्ता कार्यहरू गर्दा चाहिँ हामीमा के हुन्छ त स्वतस्फूर्त रूपमा हामी चाहिँ नि एकदम फेरि अब हामीलाई एउटा भित्रबाट पनि शान्ति मिल्छ सुख मिल्छ त्यसकारण यो चाहिँ आवश्यकै चीज हो.
Amid modernization, festivals remain vital anchors connecting people to their culture and roots. The togetherness of families, the glow of butter lamps in monasteries during Loshar, and the rhythm of dhime drums in Nevari processions all tell the same story. Nepal is a land where festivals are the very heartbeat of its people.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu, Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal. Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World. Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands.
Reporting for Public Service Broadcasting.
Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Fire in the Wangfuko development with 8 of 32-story towers in northern district of Taipo started and quickly spread on Wednesday afternoon. Phukot is home to some 4,600 residents according to the latest figures. It's unclear how many were inside when the fire broke out. As the fires subside, questions are turning to how the blaze initially started and who should be held accountable. 3 construction company executives have been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter. The disaster also has reignited scrutiny of Hong Kong's use of bamboo scaffolding and exterior mess in high-rise renovation. authorities have ordered inspections of other states and warned of potential legal and regulatory repercussions for contractors and officials. The city's fire service chief meanwhile said the fire alarms in the residential state buildings were malfunctioning. Experts say bamboo scaffolding along with other construction materials found at the buildings which were undergoing renovation might have contributed to the rapid spread of the fire. The fire also highlights chronic issues in the city, high-density living, aging buildings, and lapses in fire safety enforcement, raising calls for urgent reform. Meanwhile, local volunteers and charities are mobilized to provide food, water, and emergency supplies to survivors and displaced residents following the devastating blaze. Relief efforts are ongoing as authorities continue rescue and recovery operations.
We are still carrying out firefighting operation to 4 individual units, and damping down to various units of the 7 blocks are still in progress, so as to prevent the debris and embers from flaring up.
The latest Hong Kong fire has prompted comparisons to the Grenfell Tower inferno that killed 72 people in London in 2017. The third India-Indonesia Defence Ministers' dialogue is underway in New Delhi. During the dialogue, the two ministers reviewed regional security developments, discussed multilateral issues, and explored new avenues to deepen bilateral defence cooperation. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said that the recent signing of the enhanced agreement on defence cooperation between India and Indonesia has strengthened both nations' commitment to augment defence collaboration. Indonesia's Defence Minister noted that the dialogue builds on the strong momentum established since Rajnath Singh's visit to Indonesia in 2018, further consolidating ties between the two countries. France has agreed to start intercepting small boats in the Channel following months of pressure from the UK. The change in policy comes after UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer wrote to President Emmanuel Macron urging him to back the plan. French security forces will be allowed to stop the small boats at sea, but only before they have picked up their passengers, the maritime police has confirmed. French police have rarely intervened to stop the overcrowded boats leaving the coastline because it is considered a risk to both officers and civilians. The decision to intervene at all is a significant step forward following a short-lived change towards a more aggressive approach this summer. A jaguar rescued from Brazil's Rio Negro after being injured in October is released back into the wild in an operation led by CEPET. The animal was reintroduced to the wild on 10th November in the first recorded case of a Panthera onca feline being rescued, treated and reintroduced into its natural habitat in the region. The rescued jaguar had sustained gunshot wounds before being found and rescued. It was provided intensive care, including wound management, hydration, and nutritional support to ensure full recovery.
Cuidado com isso aqui.
A spectacular display of color filled the skies over northeastern France as the global hot air balloon gathering opened in the Lorraine region. The event has drawn balloonists from around the world launch dozens of vibrant balloons in coordinated flights. The gathering, part of the long-running tradition, celebrates international ballooning culture while boosting regional tourism. Organizers say the festival will continue throughout the week, featuring mass ascents, public activities, and cross-country flights over the scenic Lorraine landscape. The Russian Soyuz MS-28 spacecraft has launched successfully from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, carrying a crew of 3 to the International Space Station. After the smooth ascent, the spacecraft docked with the ISS, where the trio will join the station's current expedition crew. They are scheduled to spend about 8 months in orbit conducting scientific experiments, performing maintenance tasks, and supporting upcoming spacewalks. The UK's Windsor Castle has unveiled its annual Christmas display, transforming the royal residence with towering fir trees, sparkling lights and festive decorations. A 20-foot-tall, grown-in Windsor Great Park now stands in the St. George Hall, while a second 16-foot tree adorns the Crimson Drawing Room. Even Queen Mary's doll's house has been given miniature seasonal touches. The decorations will be on public display from late November through early January, accompanied by special festive tours, family activities and seasonal treats in the Undercroft Cafe.
When I talked about remittance, how we receive a huge chunk of it, but we're not being able to properly utilize it so that we could materialize it into something productive. How do you see this whole thing?
Do you think any person who is in Gulf country, earning money, sending money to this country, feels proud of sending that money here? Maybe he does, because he or she does, because they are able to take care of their families. But it could be converted into a sense where you say that your contribution has helped this country develop so much. We have created this infrastructure, we have created this development initiative. And so you take that ownership. And wherever you are, whichever part of the world you are in, whatever contribution you have made, if you feel like, oh, my contribution is actually, in fact, wherever I am, it is contributing towards development of my country, that would be much better. And so there can be some creative and innovative ways of utilizing that remittance, and also proper communication of how it is being used to those people who are contributing is equally important, I think.
AI brings in a lot of augmentation and efficiency gains, which will not necessarily replace the human, but produce a lot more efficient human, almost like a superhuman, where the person will be able to do more jobs in less amount of time. And that efficiency gains could impact overall economic output, which could then generate a lot more new kind of jobs.
Will they be a misfit in near future?
More and more people should learn how to use some of these tools, because if you don't use it, I don't know if misfit is the word, but you will be left behind.
The Pacific region has had a significant impact on the globe, thanks to its crystal oceans, tropical fruits, distinct customs and culture, and friendly inhabitants. Vanuatu, an island nation out of 30,000 Pacific islands, significantly relies on tourism for its economy, lifestyle, and culture. However, the main threat to Vanuatu's tourism economy is the island's nation's propensity for natural disasters, including cyclones, earthquakes, flooding, and volcanic eruptions. Vanuatu is now recovering from Category 4 twin cyclones Judy and Kevin, which destroyed all 83 of its islands and left people without access to water, food, or shelter at night. And Efate is the main island severely damaged. Lelife Resort, a well-known tourist destination on this island, is progressively being rebuilt after being damaged by the cyclones. The resort's sole driver, Jacques Nanette, shares his experience of how he has invested in renewable energy in order to survive these ongoing tragedies.
Historically, I come from an island very similar to Vanuatu called Mauritius. It's a tropical island. I call myself an island boy. I love the islands. I grew up on the reef. I grew up in the islands. So it's my home. You know, and when I came to Vanuatu, we bought this property, which is some 670 acres, and you know, we are very much aware of climate change and the damage that's being done around the world with everything to do with climate, the world heating up and so on and so forth. So when we came to Vanuatu, we knew that we would be building a resort and that we were very much at risk of doing a considerable amount of damage if we did things in the normal way. You know, we wouldn't be helping the situation. We'd be probably would be part of the cause of climate change, and instead of being the solution. So we very much wanted to be part of the solution, and not part of the problem.
Jacques is aware that the resort and the environment would benefit greatly from depending on renewable resources rather than producing more greenhouse gas emissions that would cause climate change.
So from day one, we decided that we'd be very careful about what trees we would cut down, what trees we would not touch at all. We're very much aware of the reef, and we try to do our best to keep the reef to a very good and high standard. And it's not easy because the villagers do a lot of damage to the reef by walking on them and so on and so forth. But we wanted to do our best. So when it actually came to the construction of the resort, then we decided to go solar. We decided to catch our own water, so we've got all the rainwater is being caught in tanks, and our carbon footprint. When you look at our carbon footprint, it's extremely low.
Le Life Resort has a low carbon footprint when compared to other tourist destinations on the island because of how little gas it produces. The resort's daily operations are powered by 12 kilowatt of solar energy throughout the year.
This is the nerve centre. So here we run quite a decent sized inverter, 2 regulators. Everything's checked through my phone. I just use my phone to check all the power levels. So I don't have to come here. I just check on my computer or on my phone. So this is a Vitron system, and then we've got in these cabinets here, we've got all lithium batteries. That's one of them. We've got 9 lithium batteries, 4 on that side, 4 on that side, and 2 here lithium batteries that actually power the whole, everything that we have. So that's the power center, nerve center for power. And also, just want to let you know that the most important thing, or very, very important thing, is to have a lot of solar panels, right? Like a lot of people make the mistake of putting big systems in, but they don't have enough solar panels. We have extra solar panels which we're about to put up, because if we have a lot of solar panels, even on a bad day like that, we still can capture enough power to charge these batteries. So we're going very strong on solar panels.
The water supply for the resort is derived from 3 different sources, which are all crucial services on which the survival of the resort depends.
All right, so our watering system here, basically we've got 5 bungalows directly behind you there, the colourful bungalows, and each one of those bungalows catches water, goes underground to that pipe here, and all the water from all the bungalow goes through into these tanks here. So that pipe there is full of water. That's full of water, and it goes all the way and catches the water. These 2 tanks actually catch the water for the whole this side of the resort, and we've got 3 systems like that. That's our number 1 system, and we've got another 2 which do exactly the same thing. 1 in the restaurant, and then 1 near the farmhouse. So we've got 3 electrical roads, 3 watering areas. And one of the reasons why we've done 3 is because if something goes wrong with 1, we've got another one.
Making use of the massive land Jacques owns, he cultivates parts of it as subsistence farming for both crops and livestock to supply the resort. However, the resort encounters difficulties due to persistent storms that disrupt the resort's operational supply. Jacques gave an example of the first day incident from Cyclone Judy.
Back area. We suffered major damage. The only time that I sort of felt a little bit edgy was when I was stuck under a table and I couldn't move, and I knew that I was underwater. The water was completely black. I couldn't see anything at all, and I couldn't get out because my head was hitting the top of the table. And then I thought, for a moment, okay, this can't be very good for my health, fundamentally. And before I had time to really start panicking or anything else, because I was obviously thinking like, yeah, let's follow the trail of the water actually sucked me back out again as it receded back to the sea. It pulled me out. So I spent 14 seconds underwater.
Jacques struggles to provide the resort with a similar amount of produce. It's also difficult when there are sad events like the recent tropical cyclones Judy and Kevin, because the resort is trying to recover by growing more crops for its visitors.
We have to try and manage what we want. Sometimes, we have too many pawpaws. Other times we have too many kumara, but we don't have any green boon, or we don't have, to try and manage the whole process. Very difficult. The cyclone has been very, very bad for us. It's been probably now almost 6-8 weeks, huh?
Yes.
We've not got any fruit, so we have absolutely zero fruit, no vegetables, because the cyclone has bulldozed everything. So now we're just starting again to get some fresh fruit. So the management and working out what we need, what we don't need, what we're going to have too much of, that's really important.
The major power and water supply station in Port Vila, UNELCO, does not completely supply electricity to the island of Efate, where Lelife Resort is located. Lelife Resort is in the eastern portion of the island, where most residents rely on solar power systems to receive electricity. Although UNELCO will soon expand its services all around the island, Jacques refuses and is determined about sticking with renewable energy and the resort's own water system so he can manage the provision of water and electricity to his visitors and ensure that they can still use the internet to stay in touch with family and friends who are far away in the event of a disaster in Vanuatu.
What would be an ideal step-by-step thing that we could do to make sure all our financial activities of the government and everything is transparent and that we deal with corruption?
It is our collective responsibility, right? It is not going to be, when we say step-by-step, what may easily come to our mind is, okay, have policy in place, enforce it, right? Have maybe a stronger punishment mechanism, and that's going to work. Of course it will. Well, that needs to happen. But then there's more steps that we need to take if we really want to get into that.
पाटन दरबार स्क्वायर विश्व सम्पदामा पर्नुको आधारहरूको कुरा गर्दै सबभन्दा पहिले त यो विश्व सम्पदामा युनेस्कोले 1979 मा यो पाटन दरबार क्षेत्र अथवा त्यो बेला चाहिँ काठमाडौँ भ्याली ओल्ड हेरिटेज साइट भनेर काठमाडौँ उपत्यकाको 7 वटा विभिन्न क्षेत्रहरू जसलाई अहिले हामी संरक्षित स्मारक क्षेत्र भन्छौँ 7 वटा विभिन्न क्षेत्रहरूलाई काठमाडौँ भ्याली वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज साइटमा इन्लिस्टिङ गरेको थियो। अब त्यसमा सबभन्दा ठुलो कुरो त के भन्दाखेरि तपाईँले पाटन दरबार स्क्वायर, काठमाडौँ दरबार स्क्वायर, भक्तपुर दरबार स्क्वायर हेर्नुभयो भने यो 17औं शताब्दीसम्म मल्ल राजाहरूले यहाँ शासन गर्दाखेरिको दरबार क्षेत्र हो। दरबार स्क्वायर नामैले अब धेरैले सोध्छन् दरबार स्क्वायर भनेको के हो भनेर। वास्तवमा यो तीनटा त्यो बेला चाहिँ यो तीनटा अहिलेको ठुलो सहरहरू पहिला तीनटा छुट्टा छुट्टै राज्य नै थिए, छुट्टा छुट्टै देशकै रूपमा स्थापित थिए, मल्ल राजाहरू थिए। त्यसकारण राजाहरूको दरबार भएको कारणले दरबार स्क्वायर भन्ने हो। अब पाटन दरबार स्क्वायरको कुरा गर्दाखेरि पाटन दरबार स्क्वायरमा पाटन दरबार पुरानो मल्ल राजाको दरबार लगायत यहाँ भएका विभिन्न मन्दिरहरू हेर्नुभयो भनेदेखि यहाँ 16औं शताब्दीदेखि लिएर 17औं 18औं शताब्दीसम्मका पैगोडा शैलीका र शिखर शैलीका विभिन्न मन्दिरहरू। त्यसमा सबैभन्दा पुरानो भनेको 1565 मा बनेको चारनारायणको मन्दिर हो। यो चारनारायणको मन्दिर लगायत अरू मन्दिरहरूमा हेर्नुभयो भने हामी यसलाई हाम्रो पैगोडा शैली भन्छौँ। यो चाहिँ नि नेपाली एकदम बेग्लै किसिमको आफ्नै पहिचान भएको पैगोडा शैली हो। तपाईँले साउथ इस्ट एसियातिर अन्त हेर्न जानुभयो भने पैगोडा शैली भनेको भिन्नै प्रकारको छ। तर हाम्रो यहाँको पैगोडा शैली भनेको मल्टी रुफ, धेरैवटा छाना भएको, झिङ्गटीको छाना भएको त्यस्तो मन्दिरलाई चाहिँ हामी पैगोडा शैली भन्छौँ। यो चारनारायणको मन्दिर लगायत अन्य पैगोडा शैलीको मन्दिरहरूमा हेर्नुभयो भने काष्ठकलाले यति भरिपूर्ण छ। तपाईँले प्रत्येक एक एकवटा सानो टुँडालदेखि लिएर त्यहाँको झ्यालहरू हेर्नुभयो भनेदेखि यो पक्कै पनि विश्वमा चिनाउन सक्ने खालको नेपाली कलाकृति रहेको छ। यो वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज साइटमा इन्लिस्टिङ हुनुमा सायद यिनै मुख्य कारण होला।
पाटन दरबार कसले बनाएर कहिले बनायो भन्ने कुराहरू चाहिँ इतिहासमा एकिनमिति पाउन सकिँदैन। तर यसको ऐतिहासिकताको चर्चा गर्दा चाहिँ किराँत कालदेखि नै सुरुवात गर्नुपर्ने छ। यसको नाम एल भएको कारणले गर्दा कसैले एलम्बरको नामबाट एल रहन गयो या पनि भन्ने कुरा छ। त्यसपछि आएर हामीले लिच्छवीकालीनमा चाहिँ 643 को एउटा अभिलेख यो केशवनारायण चोकमा देखिन्छ भने अर्को 570 एडीको चाहिँ मङ्गहिटी धारा पनि देख्न सकिन्छ। त्योभन्दा पछिको संरचनाहरू चाहिँ सबै मल्ल शासकको बेलामा बनेको देखिन्छ।
यो मन्दिर चाहिँ नि राजा सिद्धिनरसिंह मल्लले 1636-37 मा बनाउनु भएको। 1636 त्यो बेलामा हामीसँग ढुङ्गे टेक्नोलोजी त्यति थिएन। ढुङ्गाको टेक्नोलोजी चाहिँ लिच्छवी कालमा धेरै राम्रो थियो। त्यसपछि हामीले त्यो ढुङ्गाको टेक्नोलोजीमा त्यति त्यो ढुङ्गाको मठ मन्दिरहरू बनाउने टेक्नोलोजीमा त्यति हामी अगाडि बढेनौँ। तर इँटा र माटोकोमा काठकोमा चाहिँ पैगोडा शैलीमा हामी धेरै माथि गयौँ। त्यसपछि ढुङ्गाको जुन शैलीमा जानु पर्दाखेरि त्यो बेलामा हाम्रो यहाँको मिस्त्रीहरूलाई साह्रै समस्या पर्यो। माटोको चाहिँ अडाइदिन सक्छु त्यो ठुलो अल्गो यो त गगनचुम्बी त्यो बेलाको हिसाबले, यो त ढुङ्गाको त हामी सक्दैनौँ भन्ने भएपछि त्यो समस्या गनगन हुँदै गर्दाखेरि ठड्याउन नसक्ने भइसक्यो। एकजना बुढो मान्छे जान्ने मान्छे आएर मोडेल सोडेल बनाएर यसरी गर्नुहोस् भने सिकाएर जानुभयो। अनि उहाँलाई विश्वकर्माको अवतार मानेर उहाँलाई सम्झनामा उहाँले पूजा गरेर अनि त्यसपछि कृष्ण मन्दिर बनाउन सुरु गरेको भन्यो। तल्लो तल्लामा हेर्नु होला तपाईँले बच्चाहरूको लागि खेल्न रमाइलो, बच्चाहरूले बुझ्ने ज्ञान सिम्ब शार्दुला राखेको छ। त्योभन्दा माथि जानुभयो भने तपाईँले देख्नुहुन्छ रामायणको मर्यादा, समाजमा मर्यादा कसरी कायम गर्ने सामान्य बच्चाभन्दा अलिकति माथिल्लो स्तरको लागि ज्ञान छ। रामायणको ज्ञानहरू, रामायणको चित्रपट छ त्यहाँ, त्यसमा अक्षरले पनि कुदेको छ। यो भनेको यो गरेको यो वर्णन छ। अनि अझ त्योभन्दा माथिल्लो स्तरमा जानुहुन्छ भने महाभारतको राजनीतिको ज्ञान दिएको छ हेर्नुहोस् है। सामान्यभन्दा माथिल्लो स्तरमा गएको छ। महाभारतको ज्ञान दिने कोही त्योभन्दा पनि माथि जान चाहनुहुन्छ भने बनारस काशी दार्शनिक ज्ञान धर्म मात्र होइन धर्मको पनि प्रकाण्ड माथि पुगेपछि दार्शनिक ज्ञानहरू राखेको छ त्योभन्दा माथि तपाईँ एक तला माथि जानुभयो भने तपाईँले के पाउनुहुन्छ फेरि शिवको मूर्ति पाउनुहुन्छ शिव अवतार पनि त्यही हुन्छ सबभन्दा माथिल्लो तल्लामा फेरि हेर्नु होला तपाईँले देख्नुहुन्छ 4 नारायण राखिदिएको छ शिलालेखमा भने जस्तै सृष्टिको वैकुण्ठ
अब यो म पर्को टोलमा बसेको नाताले चाहिँ पर्को टोलबाटै हराएको लक्ष्मीनारायणको चाहिँ मूर्ति जो छ त्यसको बारेमा चाहिँ अब खोजनीति गर्ने हाम्रो कर्तव्य पनि भयो र मेरो पनि कर्तव्य हुन आयो यो हराएको चाहिँ करिब यो 44 सालतिर हो खास चाहिँ अनि हामीले चाहिँ अब मूर्ति हराइसकेपछि अब त्यहाँ भक्तजनहरूलाई पूजा गर्नको लागि अब के गर्ने अब मन्दिर चाहिँ छ तर मूर्ति नभएपछि त त्यहाँ त अब अशोभनीय हुने भयो त्यसैले हामीले त्यसको चाहिँ अब अर्को छुट्टै एउटा लक्ष्मीनारायणकै अब स्वरूपको चाहिँ एउटा मूर्ति बनाएर चाहिँ प्रतिष्ठापन गऱ्यौँ हामीले त्यसपछि एकजना हाम्रो यो जयलिन भन्ने एकजना आर्टिस्ट हुनुहुन्छ कलाकार हुनुहुन्छ उहाँले चाहिँ हराएको मूर्तिको बारेमा चाहिँ त्यो मूर्तिको पनि उहाँले स्केच गर्नुभएको छ त्यो स्केच चाहिँ उहाँले कहाँबाट लिनुभयो भनेपछि यो हाम्रो लैनसिन वाङदेलले चाहिँ लेख्नुभएको एउटा द स्टोलन इमेजेस अफ नेपाल भन्ने एउटा किताब छ त्यो किताबबाट चाहिँ उहाँले लिनुभएको अनि त्यो स्केचबाट चाहिँ उहाँ चाहिँ अमेरिकाको चाहिँ यो डल्लास म्युजियममा चाहिँ भ्रमणमा जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ देख्नु भएको छ जो मैले चाहिँ स्केच गरेको त्यही नै हो भन्ने उहाँ लागिसकेपछि चाहिँ अब त्यो कुरा चाहिँ गभर्मेन्ट लेभलमा पुग्यो त्यसपछि त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ ल्याउने प्रक्रिया सुरु भयो अनि त्यो प्रक्रिया सुरु भइसकेपछि चाहिँ अब यहाँ हाम्रो महानगरपालिकाले पनि अब आवश्यक चाहिँ सहयोगहरू जुटाएको छ त्यो ल्याउने काममा चाहिँ त्यसै अरू थुप्रै चाहिँ अब हाम्रा संस्कृति प्रेमीहरू हैन अब यो हितैषीहरू शुभेच्छकहरू सबैले चाहिँ सहयोग गरेर यो ठाउँमा चाहिँ प्रतिस्थापन गर्न पायौँ हामीले
मणिमण्डपको बारे कुरा गर्नुपर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हाम्रो यो मणिमण्डप चाहिँ दुईटा पार्टी छ जुन त्यो मङ्गल बजारको त्यो हिटी तल जानेकोमा चाहिँ अनि त्यो पार्टी बस्नको लागि मात्र होइन कि त्यहाँनिर चाहिँ कल्चर र त्यसमा चाहिँ हिस्टोरी धेरै कुरा जोडिरहेको छ स्पेसली कुरा गर्नुपर्दाखेरि चाहिँ त्यसमा चाहिँ हाम्रो मच्छिन्द्रनाथ जात्रामा चाहिँ एकदम ठुलो रोल खेल्छ त्यसले चाहिँ अब हामी तल जाँदाखेरि दाहिनेपट्टिकोमा चाहिँ त्यहाँनिर बसेर हाम्रो गुठीको मच्छिन्द्रनाथ गुठीको चाहिँ मानिसहरू अनि प्लस पानेजु खलकहरू अनि ज्योतिष खलकहरू चाहिँ बसेर त्यहाँनिर चाहिँ कुन दिन जात्रा गर्ने कुन दिन रथ तान्ने कुन दिन फोटो देखाउने त्यो सबै डेटहरू चाहिँ त्यहाँ बसेर चाहिँ सबै खलकहरू बसेर चाहिँ सहमतिमा चाहिँ त्यो फिक्स गर्ने गरिन्छ सो अहिलेसम्म पनि त्यो चाहिँ कल्चर चाहिँ अहिलेसम्म पनि कन्टिन्यू भइरहेको छ
दरबार स्क्वायर भनौँ अथवा पाटन सहर भनौँ यो चाहिँ नि प्राचीन कालदेखि नै लिच्छवी काल अथवा त्योभन्दा पनि अगाडि किराँत कालदेखिकै महत्त्वपूर्ण ऐतिहासिक पुरातात्विक महत्त्वको स्थल हो। यहाँ चाहिँ नि मूर्त अमूर्त सम्पदाहरूले चाहिँ धनी छ यो सहर। यहाँ चाहिँ जस्तो अब हामीले दरबार स्क्वायरबाट बाहिर हेऱ्यौँ भनेदेखि चाहिँ नि विभिन्न वास्तु संरचनाहरू देख्न सकिन्छ। यी संरचनाहरू चाहिँ नि मल्लकालदेखिका संरचना भए पनि यसले चाहिँ मल्लकालभन्दा धेरै अगाडिदेखिको इतिहास बोकेको छ। यहाँ चाहिँ नि यो मूर्त सम्पदा मात्रै होइन, यहाँ चाहिँ नि विभिन्न अमूर्त सम्पदाहरू पनि त्यत्तिकै मात्रामा भएको कारणले गर्दा चाहिँ नि यहाँ पर्यटकहरू आउने यसको चाहिँ नि महत्त्व विश्वमा नै प्रसिद्ध रहेको छ।
आजभन्दा 382 वर्ष अगाडि राजा सिद्धनरसिंह मल्लको पालामा उनका गुरुद्वय हरिवंश राजोपाध्याय तथा विश्वनाथ राजोपाध्यायको सहयोग र सल्लाहमा चाहिँ यो नाच देश र जनताको कल्याणको लागि 5 दिनबाट सुरु भएको थियो। अनि पछि उनका छोरा भन्नाले सिद्धनरसिंह मल्लका छोरा श्रीनिवास मल्लले यस नाचमा बाठो प्याख त्यो भनेको लोक नाटक 7 दिनको हुन्छ, यो नाचहरूलाई थपेर यस नाचलाई चाहिँ 12 दिनसम्म सञ्चालन गर्नुभयो। पछि उनका पनि छोरा श्रीनिवास मल्लका छोरा योग नरेन्द्र मल्लले चाहिँ यो नाचमा चाहिँ अरू उषाहरण र माधव बादल भन्ने नाचहरू थपेर यसलाई चाहिँ कार्तिक महिनाभरि त्यो भनेको 27 दिन तिहारको 3 दिन बाहेक एकै महिना सञ्चालन गर्नुभयो। यो कार्तिक महिनाभरि सञ्चालन गरिने भएकोले पनि यो नाचलाई चाहिँ कार्तिक नाच भनेको हो। र अनि यो नाचमा चाहिँ हाम्रो नेवार समुदायको बाहुल्यता रहने गर्छ। हाम्रो नेवार समुदायको सम्पूर्ण जातहरू माथिल्लोदेखि लिएर सम्पूर्ण तल्लो जातसम्मको यसमा यो नाचमा समावेश भएको छ। अनि विभिन्न जात अनुसारै यसमा कलाकारहरू साथसाथै यसमा चाहिँ सहयोग गर्नेहरूलाई पनि भिन्न कामहरू छुट्याइ आएको छ, जुन हालसम्म पनि निरन्तरता भइरहेको छ।
छोरा नातिहरूले भोलि पर्सि चाहिँ हाम्रा बाजे बराजुले के बनाएर गए, हामी कहाँ चाहिँ कस्तो कस्तो किसिमको टेक्नोलोजीहरू थिए, हाम्रो कल्चर के थिए इत्यादि कुराहरू उनीहरूले पनि जानोस् भन्ने हिसाबले यस्ता चिजहरूलाई चाहिँ बचाइराख्नुपर्ने एकदमै आवश्यक ठान्छु। त्यसकारण चाहिँ भुइँचालोले जति पनि भत्के ती सबै चाहिँ फेरि कुनै चाहिँ नभत्केकालाई हामीले रेट्रोफिटिङ गरेर पनि जोगायौँ र भत्केकालाई पुनर्निर्माण गरेर फेरि पुरानै शैलीमा पुरानै जति पनि सामानहरू हामीले पुनः प्रयोग गर्न योग्य थिए त्यो सामानहरू जुन बटुलेर राखेको थियो त्यसलाई नै फेरि पुनः प्रयोग गरेर हामीले मन्दिरहरू बनायौँ। जस्तो हामीले नयाँ बनाउन नसकिने भन्ने होइन कि नयाँ बनाउँदाखेरि त्यसको जति महत्त्व हुन्छ त्यसलाई हामी चाहिँ भनौँ न अब अर्को 50 वर्षपछि हामीले त्यो नयाँ राम्रै बनाए पनि यो चाहिँ 72 सालको भुइँचालोपछि बनाए यसको चाहिँ 75 वर्ष भएको छ भन्ने चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ जुन रिसर्चबाट देख्छौँ। तर अहिले जुन मन्दिरहरू छन् 300-400 वर्ष पुरानो छन् त्यसलाई नै हामीले जोगाइराख्यो भने अझ त्यसको चाहिँ महत्त्व बढ्दै जान्छ। त्यसकारण जति सक्यो त्यति चाहिँ हामीले पुरानो सामग्रीहरूलाई पुनः प्रयोग गरेर त्यसलाई नै चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ युज गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने चाहिँ मान्यता राख्दछ।
पाटन दरबार स्क्वायर भनेको चाहिँ ललितपुरको मुटुमै छ, जसलाई हामीले मङ्गल बजार भनिन्छ। लिच्छवी कालदेखि यसमा विभिन्न मणिगल मणि हुँदै यसलाई चाहिँ पछि अपभ्रंश भएर मङ्गल बजार भएको हो, जसमा यसमा इतिहास र पुरातात्विक प्रमाणमा 60वटा मणि छ भनिन्छन्, जसमध्ये मणि केशव, मणि भैरव, मणि गणेश, मणि कुमार, मणि धारा, मणि गुफा र मणि केशवर गरी यी 60वटा मणिहरू छन्, जुन यो मङ्गल बजारको यो पाटन दरबारको सेरोफेरोभित्रै रहेको छ। जसमध्ये मणि आइटी भनेको काठमाडौँ उपत्यकाको लिच्छवीकालीन धारा हो, जसलाई मानदेवको नाति भारोबीले बनाएको भनेको अभिलेख कुदिएको छ। मङ्गल बजारको जुन मणि धारा हालसम्म अविरल 1500 वर्षदेखि अविरल रूपमा पानी बग्दै आएको र स्थानीयको सांस्कृतिक सामाजिक महत्त्वको रूपमा रहेको धारा हो। राजपूत कलामा इन्फ्लुएन्स भएको कलाले भरिपूर्ण भएको चाहिँ चित्रकला हो जुन चाहिँ 16औं शताब्दीमा बनेको। यसमा विशेष गरी सिंगारको रूपमा कृष्णलीला सम्बन्धी त्यसको ड्रेस कोड मल्लकालीन कस्तो ड्रेसहरू लाउँथ्यो हुन त त्यसमा राजा आफै भएको चित्र पनि हो। त्यसमा सिद्धिनरसिंह मल्लको आफ्नो पोर्ट्रेट पनि जुन रहेको छ।
सुन्दरी चोकको सबसे मुख्य सुन्दर कुरा भनेको चाहिँ यस चोकमा रहेको यो सोसाइटी हो जसमा चाहिँ यो तान्त्रिज्म अथवा तान्त्रिक देवी देवताहरूको चाहिँ बढी प्रभाव रहेको छ र सोसाइटीमा चाहिँ जुन एउटा जसबाट चाहिँ उखु जस्तै मिठो पानी आउँछ भने त्यसको सोसाइटीसँगै वरपर रहेका तान्त्रिक देवी देवताका मूर्तिहरूले पनि सुन्दर चोकलाई सुन्दर बनाएको छ। यहाँ अर्को काष्ठकलाको रूपमा चाहिँ शिवलिङ्गहरू पनि रहेका छन्। यहाँ जहाँ चाहिँ 509 वटा शिवलिङ्ग रहेका छन् भने तिनीहरूको नाम चाहिँ 501 वटा जुन चाहिँ प्रचलित लिपिमा लेखिएको छ र तपाईले यहाँ शिवलिङ्गमा पनि उपत्यकाका 64 वटा ज्योतिर्लिङ्गहरूको नामहरू पनि यहाँ पाउन सक्नुहुन्छ। राजा सिद्धिनरसिंह मल्ललाई चाहिँ हरेक टोलबाट चाहिँ उपहार स्वरूप काष्ठ झ्यालहरू जुन चाहिँ हरेक बुट्टाहरूले उत्कीर्ण एकदम राम्रो खालका रहेका छन् जसले पनि सुन्दर चोकलाई सुन्दर बनाउन चाहिँ सहयोग गरेको छ। प्लस यहाँका टुडालहरूमा रहेका आकृतिहरू इरोटिक आकृतिहरूदेखि लिएर विभिन्न नारी मूर्तिहरूले पनि यस सुन्दर चोकलाई चाहिँ सुन्दर बनाउन मद्दत गरेको छ। साथै यहाँ रहेका सिद्धिनरसिंह मल्लको खाट जुन चाहिँ ढुङ्गाबाट बनेको छ जहाँ राजा सिद्धिनरसिंह मल्लले चाहिँ गर्मीमा पञ्चाग्नि तापेर र जाडोमा नाङ्गे बसेर तपस्या गर्दथे भन्ने
त्यसमध्ये मुख्य जात्रा भनेको भीमसेन जात्रा, गाई जात्रा, कृष्णाष्टमी धेरै जात्राहरू छन्। सबभन्दा ठुलो जात्रा भनेको भीमसेन जात्रा हो। भीमसेन जात्रा ललितपुरको सबभन्दा ठुलो जात्रा हाम्रो रथ मच्छिन्द्रनाथको रथ यात्रा पछिको ठुलो जात्रा हो। यसमा त यो श्रावण भाद्र महिनामा पर्दछ, कहिले श्रावणमा कहिले भाद्रमा पर्छ। यो कृष्णाष्टमीको कहिले भोलिपल्ट कहिले पर्सिपल्ट यो जात्रा
मा काशी विश्वनाथ मन्दिरमा मुगल बादशाहले आक्रमण गरेका थिए। आक्रमण गरेको बेलामा काठमाडौँमा पनि खबर पुग्यो यहाँ मुसलमानले काशी विश्वनाथमा काशी नगरमा आक्रमण गर्न लागेको छ भनेर यहाँको हिन्दूहरूलाई पनि बडो चोट लाग्यो। अनि यहाँको हिन्दू भागीरथ उहाँहरू चाहिँ नेपालको फौज सङ्कलन गरेर अब हामी बनारसमा गएर लड्न जाने, हामी विश्वनाथ मन्दिर बचाउने, काशीलाई बचाउने भनेर फौज जम्मा गरेर उतातिर हिँडे। अनि जाँदै गर्दै मकवान पुगेपछि उहाँहरूले के खबर आयो, काशी त ध्वस्त पारिसक्यो, जितिसक्यो औरङ्गजेबले, काशी विश्वनाथ पनि ध्वस्त पारिसक्यो भनेपछि लौ अब हामी लड्न जाने भने त्यसैको लागि हो। अब लडिसक्यो, सबै स्याक गरिसक्यो, काशी नै नष्ट गरिसक्यो भनेपछि अब हामी गएर के काम, गए पनि हामी मर्न जाने मात्रै, हामी हारिहाल्छौँ, हामीले केही गर्न सक्यो भने सबै खेतपूर्वक फर्केर आयो। फर्केर आएपछि भागिरहको भैनाले मनमा के खेलिरह्यो भनेदेखि यो मेरो काम फत्ते भएन, काशीलाई बचाउन सकिएन। अब सानो फौज गइहाल्यो तर आकाङ्क्षा त ठुलो रहेछ भने अनि उहाँले के सोच्नुभयो भने म नै यहाँ काशीको मन्दिर विश्वनाथ बनाउँछु।
मासु उभो गर्ने, बलि दिने यो गरिसकेपछि तलेजु भवानीमा नवमी र दशमीको दिनमा जसरी बलि दिन्छ त्यो बलि दिएको अब यहाँ रगरको आहालै बग्थ्यो। अब आजकल त 5वटा बग्यो, 5वटा राङ्गो मात्रै। पहिले 54वटा भन्थ्यो, भक्तपुरमा 54वटै दिन्थ्यो, काठमाडौँमा 54वटै राङ्गो बोका बलि दिन्छ अहिले पनि। तर पाटनमा चाहिँ अहिले 5-5वटा मात्रै बलि दिन्छ। अनि त्यो बलि दिइसकेपछि जुन कुँडा त्यो बलि दिँदाखेरि प्रयोग गर्ने सामानहरू जसरी रक्ताम्य हुन्छ नि
त्यो रक्तदामी भएको भाँडाकुँडा खुँडाहरू तरबार खुकुरी यो सबै चाहिँ नि तलेजु भवानीको पूर्वपट्टिको तलेजु भवानी मन्दिरको पूर्वपट्टि रहेको जुन भण्डारखाल बगैँचा छ बगैँचामा एउटा ठुलो पोखरी छ त्यो पोखरीमा एउटा धारो एउटा पनि छ जसमा ढुङ्गे डाँडा त्यो ढुङ्गे डाँडामा आएको पानीले नै पखाल्नुपर्छ भनेर एउटा शिलालेखमै उल्लेख गरेको छ अनि यो भण्डारखालमा त्यो पखालिसकेपछि जुन त्यो रगतको पानी अनि त्यसमा टाँसेको मासुहरू जुन त्यो पोखरीमा जान्छ त्यो पोखरीमा चाहिँ माछा पालेको पनि हुन्छ अनि त्यहाँ त्यतिखेर हाँस पाल्ने माछा पाल्ने गर्थ्यो भन्ने चाहिँ अब सुन्नमा आएको छ तर अहिले त्यसको केही अब प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाण त छैन अनि त्यो ठाउँमा सिद्धिनरसिंह मल्ल र सिद्धिनरसिंह मल्लको रानी त्यसपछिको राजाहरू र रानीहरू त्यहाँ पोखरीमा अवलोकन गर्ने त्यही ठाउँमा नुहाउने त्यही ठाउँमा त्यो लुगा फेर्ने यस्तो पनि यस्तो गर्ने व्यवस्था अनुरूप त्यो ठाउँ बनाएको छ त्यो ठाउँलाई चाहिँ कलात्मक रूपबाट एउटा मूर्तिहरू पुरेर मूर्ति दायाँ बायाँ तोरण राखेर विभिन्न कलाकृतिहरूले परिपूर्ण एउटा सानो कोठा एउटा बनाएको छ बरन्डा जस्तो बनाएको छ त्यो ठाउँमा बसेर चाहिँ नि अवलोकन गर्ने भन्ने राजाहरूले चाहिँ त्यस्तो गर्छ भनेर अनि त्यो जुन राजा बसेर अवलोकन गर्ने छ त्यसको माथितिर एउटा गुम्बज जस्तो एउटा बार्दली जस्तो एउटा ठाउँ बनाएको छ त्यो ठाउँमा चाहिँ नि रानी मात्रै जानु पाउने अनि रानी बसेर अवलोकन गर्ने अनि त्यहाँ तलेजुको पुजारीले पूजाआजा सकिसकेपछि प्रसाद दिनुको लागि अनि तलेजुको पुजारी एकजना जानु पाउने रानी र तलेजुको पुजारी दुईजना मात्रै जानु पाउने भनेर शिलालेखमा उल्लेख गरेको छ
AI brings in a lot of augmentation and efficiency gains, which will not necessarily replace the human, but produce a lot more efficient human, almost like a superhuman, where the person will be able to do more jobs in less amount of time. And that efficiency gains could impact overall economic output, which could then generate a lot more new kind of jobs.
Will they be a misfit in near future?
More and more people should learn how to use some of these tools, because if you don't use it, I don't know if misfit is the word, but you will be left behind.
Since childhood, I always like to go in a competition. Even I was in a high school, I done many competition in athletics or other things, and then I end up with MasterChef. I was winner of rematch in 2020 MasterChef UK Professionals. My all-time favorite, and I think all Nepali favorite, is goat curry and rice, mashu bhat. I'm from Karjanaha village, district Siraha. When I was very small kid, I started working for a family, and same time I was studying as well. When I was 5 years old, my father passed away. When I was very young age, for us, food was survival food. Till SLC, I was in village, and then I went to India for work purpose, and then I started working in a 5-star hotel as a kitchen porter. Then I find my passion about the cooking, because I was seeing the chef, very nice, tidy, white jacket with a white hat, and then I decided I want to like these guys, and I became a chef in a few months, and then working almost 7 years, and then I continue my study as well, and after 7 years I become an executive chef in a 5-star hotel. In a MasterChef, I was cooking only Nepali food and introducing Nepali food, Nepali spices and Nepali technique, because Nepali food was never discovered to the world, and Nepal have a very good potential. The people never expected gundruk to be like this, and even wachipa, tite, burning feathers, chicken feathers, and marinating in chicken and cooking with rice. Also, padam chal, that's a Himalayan rhubarb. This kind of things I cook in the MasterChef. I have also written a book called Ayla, A-Y-L-A, Ayla book. That's a recipe cookbook. During the MasterChef, I started Nepali cuisine. Before, I was working in a Michelin star, French Michelin star, Indian Michelin star restaurant. That was not my Nepali cuisine, was not my cuisine. But now I can say proudly, Nepali cuisine is my cuisine now. Still, I am promoting Nepali food, ethnic cuisine, cultural cuisine. Like if you see, we are in a Mithila Thali fish house. Mithila cuisine is very close to my heart. That reflects Tarai region food to the world, and this food was never promoted as well. And opening a Mithila restaurant and promoting Mithila cuisine. Mithila cuisine is very healthy. Mithila food have a fermentation, freshness, seasonal vegetables, seasonal cookings. So lots of things came into Mithila cuisine. So I think world should know about this cuisine. I really want to serve Nepal via food. This is the third year I'm doing Nepali cuisine restaurant in Nepal, and almost 200 people working for me. If you want to be a chef, if you are confused to decide, I think this is the right time to do it. And if you are studying in abroad, I think Nepal have a very good potential for the business in a hospitality industry, because Nepal is a tourism-based country, and tourism always need a good hospitality, good restaurant, good food, and good hotel. Now I'm dreaming with open eyes. I want a Michelin star chef with Nepali food. Then any part of the world, I will be opening Michelin star Nepali restaurant.
I came from Viratnagar, and am at a global stage on data and AI and finance. So I was born and brought up in a city called Viratnagar in the eastern part of Nepal. I was brought up in a typical middle-class Nepali family. I went to school in a normal Nepali school. I studied there until SLC in Viratnagar. As for my higher education, I did my undergrad in Australia. I went over to study quant finance at New York University. I did masters in financial engineering. When I remember my childhood, I used to like sports. Cricket was my thing. And I always liked numbers, patterns, logic. When I found quant finance, it kind of was a formalization of most of my interests that I had as a kid. I was recognized as a change maker. All I did was used mathematics and advanced computational sciences to create mathematical models to predict investments and risk, etc. There's nothing like that being done widely in the industry. As you see, it's a very recent phenomenon. That's how I kind of got into this spot of being recognized as the top 100 influential figures in AI. I remember this song, Hatne Hoina Dati Ladne, right? And that kind of is the embodiment of us. Nepal taught me to lead during scarcity. Nepal taught me to asset allocate when resources are limited, to innovate, right? For me, getting this recognition or being, global stage, it just gives me a bigger microphone. And what I probably would plan to do, or what I am always kind of striving to do, is use that bigger microphone to convey the message on what could be the possibility for tomorrow. I just am a medium for a lot of people here who have already been doing this thing for a long time. Nepal does not lack intelligence. Our bottleneck is not we don't know how to do things. Our bottleneck is infrastructure and policy framework. These are two things. And if we solve this, I think market is going to take its turn and you will see proliferation. Don't stop dreaming. That would be my first thing. Dream big. If you are persistent on what you want, and if you have clarity of thought and logic, you will achieve it.
I think like any other young people, usually in Nepal, jobs were the primary intention of many youth coming out of education system. So even my family and my friends, they thought that I'm going to take a job. Starting something out in Nepal where the entrepreneurial ecosystem is pretty young, and it's very difficult in terms of many ways, like finding the funding, finding the suppliers, navigating the government offices. It's pretty difficult. And I think one of the most difficult things was to try to do something that no one has ever done before. So running an education organization that does research and also does manufacturing. So there was a lot of learning curve and a lot of failures in the path. My name is Pavitra Bahadur Gautam. By education, I'm an electronics and communication engineer. I worked in robotics for a couple of years. I always had this curiosity of building things, trying things out. I always had this experimental mindset, and that took me closer to starting Karkhana along with my co-founders. So Karkhana acts as multiple entities and ideas at the same time. So we are a research organization, work with national and international universities to do research on pedagogy, lesson plan design. We actually also work as an innovation space where we design these materials that can actually be taken inside the classroom to make science slightly more fun, slightly more experiential. But we also act as a manufacturing space where we manufacture these materials and make sure these materials reach into the classroom. But they're not only reaching the classroom as just material, but we also train the teachers, support them to convert their regular classroom into more of a land, like a classroom of a discovery. And we actually align all of these activities in the curriculum side. So it helps students study their science from the national curriculum side, but it teaches them in a far more experiential format. We started Karkhana as a maker space, as an innovation center, but slowly we realized that it's not the space that's required for innovation, but it's the mindset that's required for innovation. And we actually wanted to work on building the culture of experimentation in Nepal. Currently, we're working with 250 schools all across Nepal in more than 35 districts altogether, currently impacting around 1,500 classrooms where more than 42,000 children learn science in a more hands-on, experiential way, where they're not only learning science as a subject, but they're learning science as a mindset. So we usually find chemistry to be one of the most difficult subjects, right? So for example, when we're studying in school, so we have learned about atoms and how atoms are formed. We know that neutron, proton are in the center, the electrons are in the circle, like they are in orbits. So we actually give students this kind of model where they actually form atomic models. And they can actually form hydrogen, helium, lithium, iron. So they can form different atoms, but not only that, they can also understand how 3D structures of these atoms are like maintained. So they can actually build these things out in the classroom, and they can actually compare these models with each other, and it's a lot of fun. Being inside a country like Nepal and being affected with things like earthquake, instability in the government, unstable education policies and policy at large, being affected with issues like COVID, blockade. So I think navigating all these things in a country that is developing its entrepreneurial ecosystem and trying to sustain the business in this kind of environment, I think you're largely firefighting every day. I hope to take this idea beyond Nepal as well over the course of the years. I think it's very viable in places in South Asia because we share a very similar socio-economic conditions where the science is still taught as a history lesson, as a subject that is needed to be learned to get done with the exams. So I think I want to challenge that idea that science is just a subject, but it's more of a mindset, it's a lifestyle. And when you adopt that kind of scientific thinking in your life, I think the life gets much experimental. Pretty excited about this idea that we might be able to solve problems not in the classrooms of Nepal, but also beyond Nepal, exploring places like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, where we think that we can make an impact, and in places like Darjeeling, Sikkim, where we might go out and use Nepali language to reach and work as well. Education is a very old process. Being progressive also does not mean being anti-traditional. So trying to blend what has worked in the past, but also trying to integrate what is there in the future. So we're trying to make sure that the learning is for fun, impactful, and relevant as well.
Nepal prepares to strengthen security measures ahead of March 5 elections. Prime Minister Karki stresses civilian safety. Government hikes foreign employment medical fees. Associations call for immediate reversal. World marks the Red Planet Day, exploring the mysteries and wonders of Mars. Death toll rises to 128 in Hong Kong's deadliest typhoon fire. Rescue operations ongoing, no Nepalese affected. Sri Lanka shuts schools and government offices as devastating flood and landslides claim 56 lives. And Kathmandu Gorkhas beat Chitwan Rhinos by 53 runs in first NPL fixture today. Viratnagar defeats Karnali by 3 wickets in the day-night match. Hello, I am Iprulagi Singlama. You're watching NTV World News, now coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2300 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. Nepal is finalizing security for the March 5 House of Representative election, assessing poll centers and estimating the need for around 132,000 temporary police personnel. They will serve 40 days with standard benefits. Over 71,000 regular officers will also be deployed. Security plans cover pre-election, election day and post-election phases. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Sushila Karki stressed the Army's key role in ensuring a free, fair and safe March 5 elections. During an inspection visit to the Army headquarters in Bhadrakali of Kathmandu, the Prime Minister urged strict law enforcement, zero tolerance for lapses and close coordination between police and the Army, including recovering missing weapons and arresting fugitives. The government raised medical exam fees for migrant workers. The new fee structure implemented on November 26 increases the cost of mandatory medical tests to 9,500 rupees, which is approximately $71 for all migrant workers. This has doubled the cost for foreign-bound workers. The Nepal Forum of Democratic Foreign Employment Entrepreneurs criticized the move, saying it burdens low-income workers and urged an immediate withdrawal. Today, November 28, space enthusiasts and astronomers around the world are observing Red Planet Day, commemorating the historic 1964 launch of NASA's Mariner 4 spacecraft. Mariner 4 was the first mission to send back close-up images of Mars, providing humanity with its first detailed glimpse of the red planet. Mars has fascinated humans for centuries. Mars continues to be a key focus of exploration and scientific study, while in astrology it symbolizes energy, action and ambition. More on this in our scientific and astrological significance in our cover story. A massive fire in Tai Po, Hong Kong has claimed at least 128 lives and injured 79, with dozens still missing. The blaze, which occurred in high-rise buildings under renovation, spread rapidly due to styrofoam on the exteriors. The Consulate General of Nepal in Hong Kong confirmed that no Nepalese were affected by the fire. Nepali residents remain safe and authorities continue to monitor the community closely while rescue and investigation operations proceed on the ground. More details on the Nepali diaspora and the fire in our cover story later in this bulletin. Sri Lanka has closed all government offices and schools as severe floods and landslides claim 56 lives, injuring 24 and leave 21 missing. Heavy rains last week, intensified by a depression east of the island, have damaged over 600 houses and inundated roads, homes and fields, particularly in the central tea-growing regions of Badula and Nuwara Elia. The government's Disaster Management Center continues rescue and relief operations. Now, in the matches of the Nepal Premier League today, held at TU International Cricket Ground, Kathmandu, Gorkhas defeated Chitwan Rhinos by 53 runs. Batting first, Kathmandu scored 142 while Chitwan were all out for 89. Sohail Tanvi starred with 4 wickets. Kathmandu rises to third with 6 points. In the second match, Biratnagar Kings chased 161 to beat Karnaliaks by 3 wickets. Bashir Ahmad's unbeaten 62 off 43 balls sealed the win with 1 ball to spare. Now, as November 28 marks Red Planet Day to celebrate the historic 1964 Mariner 4 mission, which is the first to send close-up images of Mars. From science to astrology, see why Mars fascinates us. Full story in today's issue of the day. Now, we'll take a short break here. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is NTV World News Hour. Today, November 28th, space enthusiasts around the world observe Red Planet Day, marking the historic 1964 launch of NASA's Mariner 4 spacecraft, which is the first to send close-up images of Mars. The mission gave humanity its first detailed glimpse of the red planet, sparking centuries of fascination. Mars remains a central focus of scientific exploration, with orbiters, rovers and upcoming missions studying its surface, climate, geology, and potential signs of past life. Beyond science, Mars holds astrological significance, symbolizing energy, action, and ambition, influencing personality traits and decisions in many traditions. As humanity prepares for future missions to the red planet, Mars stands at the crossroads of cosmic curiosity. Explored through modern science on one hand and interpreted through the ancient wisdom of Vedic astrology on the other, Vijeta Pandari takes a glimpse.
Today is Red Planet Day. It is celebrated to commemorate the launch of NASA's Mariner 4 spacecraft in 1964, which was the first mission to send back close-up images of Mars. Mars is a planet that has fascinated humanity for centuries. In modern science, Mars is taken as a celestial body for exploration, whereas in astrological science, Mars's movement and position is interpreted as having an influence on human affairs and the natural world, as a symbol of energy, action, and ambition.
विशेष गरेर ज्योतिष शास्त्रमा मंगल ग्रहलाई रातो ग्रहको रूपमा बुझिन्छ। ज्योतिष शास्त्रका ग्रन्थहरूमा मंगल ग्रहले मानव जीवनमा पार्ने नकारात्मक प्रभाव चाहिँ साहस, पराक्रम, पुरुषार्थ, शौर्यता, विवाह र उत्साह, उमङ्ग, यात्रा, प्रेम, करुणा, दुर्घटना, राजनीतिक उथलपुथल, क्रान्ति आदि विषयलाई त्यसले प्रतिनिधित्व गर्छ र त्यसको अंक 9 बुझिन्छ। त्यसको प्रतिबिम्ब चाहिँ गणेशजीलाई मानिन्छ।
Modern science strives to uncover the planet's secrets through space exploration, scientific observation, and discovery. So far, Mars has shown signs of a watery past, with findings showing that its current water state is limited to water ice in polar regions and in briny water. Astrology, on the other hand, links Mars to human behavior and predictions of one's life and destiny based on the position of the stars and planets. As humanity prepares for future space missions to the red planet, it seems like Mars stands at the junction of cosmic curiosity, satisfied via two distinct ways: the world of modern science and the ancient study of the sky and the constellations via Vedic astrology. Mars, the fourth planet from the Sun, is known for two main things. First is its reddish appearance, caused due to the oxidization of iron in its rocks. Second, it is one of the most explored bodies in our solar system. Today is Red Planet Day, and Mars continues to capture our imagination, both through its ongoing space exploration and through its enduring significance in Vedic astrology. Bijata Bhandari with camera person Rasila Shrestha reporting for NTV World.
On Mars Day, we tried to explore astrology alongside more modern science. We asked people whether they believe in astrology. Let's take a look at the public pulse on this topic.
मलाई त्यस्तो खोजेको छैन अनि सुनेको त त्यस्तो देखेको छु हुन्छ नि चासो गरेको छैन भनौं न मलाई त्यस्तो ग्रहहरुकोमा त्यस्तो हामी चासो गरेको छैन भनौं न
म यसमा चाहिँ यो ग्रह दशामा चाहिँ विश्वास गर्छु म अनि त्यसमा चाहिँ पूजा आजा गरेर हुन्छ कि कसैलाई दान धर्म गरेर हुन्छ कि कसरी पर्छ त्यसमा चाहिँ म विश्वास गर्छु.
To begin with, astrology in itself has a huge impact on humanity from its beginning of consciousness that we have been fascinated with stars and planets. And in my daily life and my family, that astrology also has it's some way of impacting, like it's impacting some way.
विश्वास लाग्छ अब चिनो हुने चाहिँ हामीले पहिलेदेखि भनिरहेको चीज हो. अब बिहा स्या गर्दा वर्तमान सन्दर्भ गर्दै त्यही चिनो हेरे नै गर्छ. दिनहरु त्यसैले निकाल्छ यो यसको दिन यो पर्छ फल्नाको दिन यो पर्छ भनेर विश्वास लाग्छ एकदमै.
मलाई यसमा यो जुन छ नि ग्रहहरुले मानिसहरुको अथवा प्राणीहरुको उसमा त्यसले के असर गर्छ भन्ने विषयमा चाहिँ मलाई त्यस्तो विश्वास लाग्दैन. अहिलेसम्म मलाई त्यस्तो किसिमको धारणा छैन कि.
I do believe in this astrology and everything, and this is our culture and it do impact us.
देखाउँछु मैले चिन्हहरु देखाउँछु आफ्नो बारेमा भविष्यमा के भइरहेको के हुन्छ भविष्यको बारेमा के गर्दा ठीक होला हैन त्योहरु सबै देखाउँछु.
I personally do not believe in astrology because I'm a science person, but then I do have relatives and I know people who believe in all those kind of stuff, and I totally respect that, but personally I do not.
The Consulate General of Nepal in Hong Kong confirms no Nepalese were affected by the devastating fire. Rescue and investigation efforts continue. More on this later in today's cover story. We'll take a short break here and we'll be right back. Welcome back. The blaze, Hong Kong's deadliest in over 70 years, erupted on Wednesday in the Tai Po district, engulfing the Wang Fuk Court high-rise buildings. At least 128 people have died and 79 more were injured, with dozens still reported missing. The towers were undergoing renovations when the fire broke out. Our colleague Bhavana Kisi brings you more.
Fire in the Wang Fu Court development with 8 of 32-story towers in northern district of Tai Po started and quickly spread on Wednesday afternoon. Fook Court is home to some 4,600 residents according to the latest figures. It's unclear how many were inside when the fire broke out. As the fires subside, questions are turning to how the blaze initially started and who should be held accountable. 3 construction company executives have been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter. The disaster also has reignited scrutiny of Hong Kong's use of bamboo scaffolding and exterior mess in high-rise renovation. Authorities have ordered inspections of other states and warned of potential legal and regulatory repercussions for contractors and officials. The city's fire service chief meanwhile said the fire alarms in the residential state buildings were malfunctioning. Experts say bamboo scaffolding along with other construction materials found at the buildings which were undergoing renovation might have contributed to the rapid spread of the fire. The fire also highlights chronic issues in the city, high-density living, aging buildings and lapses in fire safety enforcement, raising calls for urgent reform. Meanwhile, local volunteers and charities are mobilized to provide food, water, and emergency supplies to survivors and displaced residents following the devastating blaze. Relief efforts are ongoing as authorities continue rescue and recovery operations.
We are still carrying out firefighting operation to 4 individual units, and damping down to various units of the 7 blocks are still in progress, so as to prevent the debris and embers from flaring up.
The latest Hong Kong fire has prompted comparisons to the Grenfell Tower inferno that killed 72 people in London in 2017.
The Consulate General of Nepal in Hong Kong has expressed deep sorrow over the massive fire that broke out in 7 residential buildings at Wang Fuk Court in the Tai Po area of Hong Kong. According to the Consulate General, no Nepali citizens have been reported injured so far. Officials say they are in constant contact with Hong Kong police and government authorities to gather updates on the situation. The mission has requested anyone with information about Nepali citizens who may be trapped or in need of support to contact the Consulate General through email or the official hotline. The devastating fire in Hong Kong has claimed at least 128 lives, with dozens still missing. To help us understand the situation on the ground, we are joined live by Tulsi Gurung from Hong Kong. Thank you for being with us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
So, what updates are you receiving from the ground regarding the condition of the Nepali community affected by the Hong Kong fire?
Well, at the moment, today they had a news brief.
Yes.
I think we have problem. We have problem with the connection now.
Hello, sir. Am I audible to you?
Yes. Okay. Now I can hear you now. Yeah.
So, what updates are you receiving from the ground regarding the condition of the fire in Hong Kong?
Well, today they had a press brief this afternoon by the Hong Kong government. The death toll is now 128 and 79 is injured. And mostly, death is all Chinese origin. But
So can you share how Nepali workers and families in Hong Kong are responding to this tragedy and what their most urgent needs are at the moment?
Well, at the moment, all Nepalese, they are not involved. Basically, that area, the Tai Po district, not many Nepalese are living there. So there are not many Nepalese are involved in this incident. So basically, everyone is a little shocked because of this incident. Apart from that, all is okay.
Okay, so what message would you like to share with families abroad who are worried about their loved ones in Hong Kong right now?
Well, basically, we should not ignore health and safety. It is quite important since we are living in a very crowded city in Hong Kong, and mostly the building are very high-rising building. So we should not ignore safety and health and safety, particularly in the building.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gurung, for your time.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much.
Nepal has begun finalizing security arrangements for the upcoming March 5 House of Representations elections. The authorities are preparing to confirm polling centers and determine the number of temporary police personnel required to ensure safe and orderly voting. With the addition of new voters and expanded polling locations, police officials anticipate the deployment of approximately 132,000 temporary police personnel. These temporary recruits, appointed in coordination with the Election Commission, will receive basic salary equivalent to police constables for a period of 40 days, along with uniforms, transportation allowances, and other essential benefits. Nepal's Prime Minister Karki has emphasized the pivotal role of the Nepali army in ensuring peace and stability as the country prepares for its House of Representatives election on March 5, 2026. During an inspection visit to the army headquarters in Bhadrakali of Kathmandu, the Prime Minister highlighted that maintaining law and order and guaranteeing a free, fair and fear-free election is a top national priority. Prime Minister Karki noted that the government has entrusted the security forces, particularly the army, with the responsibility of safeguarding the electoral process. She also urged security agencies to work with zero tolerance for lapses, stating that no civilians should be harmed during the election period. Moving on, Bangladesh has agreed to purchase an additional 20 megawatt of electricity from Nepal, in addition to the existing 40 megawatts. The decision was made at the 7th Energy Secretary level Nepal-Bangladesh Joint Steering Committee on Energy held Thursday in Dhaka. Nepal's Energy Secretary Chiranjeevi Chautwat and Bangladesh's Secretary Farzana Momtaz participated in the meeting, where 6 agendas were discussed, including signing a memorandum of understanding to promote renewable energy and energy efficiency. Now, Nepal participated in the recently concluded COP Climate Summit, emphasizing its commitment to climate action and sustainable development. The summit resulted in key agreements on emission reductions, climate finance and support for vulnerable countries. Our colleague Sarah Sapsanamarai brings you more.
This year's COP took place against a backdrop of rising climate emergencies like forest fires, destructive floods, heat waves and record-breaking temperatures worldwide. Outside the venue, thousands of indigenous peoples, youth groups and civil society movements marched through the streets of Belém, demanding stronger and faster action, especially from the biggest emitters. Nepal was among the countries pushing for ambition and fairness in the negotiations.
Broadly, it was three key priorities that were there for us. First, obviously, the limiting the temperature rise to 1.5 degree, as we discussed. For that, it's key to reduce the emission, and the science have said that compared to 2019 level, the emission must go 43% below by 2030. The second was the climate finance, and more particularly, the finance for adaptation in a form of grant with the easier access. Yes, and on that we supported the call from the least developed countries to triple adaptation finance compared to 2025 level by 2030. The third, the key priority for us was about mountains, and I would say that compared to many other items, we were moderately successful this time to establish the agenda. The mountain has also been included in many of the discussion, but more particularly, we got a process set up to have a mountain as a permanent discussion forum in the future.
After days of negotiations, the summit produced what is now known as the Belém Declaration, a broad political outcome aimed at steering global climate action in the coming years. The declaration puts strong emphasis on green industrialization, calling for cleaner industries, low-carbon manufacturing, and technological transformation across supply chains. It also highlights just transition, climate justice, more inclusive economic models, and stronger cooperation among countries of the Global South. Other major outcome was the commitment to triple adaptation finance and to mobilize far more funding for vulnerable countries by the year 2035. However, it does not include any explicit reference to phasing out fossil fuels, the primary driver of global warming. For many climate vulnerable countries, including Nepal, this omission was one of the most disappointing outcomes of COP30.
Kathmandu is piloting a new infrastructure ambulance system to rapidly repair damaged roads, potentially ending months-long waits for fixes. The app, currently being tested with road department staff, allows citizens to report potholes, cracks and other road damage using their mobile phones. Once a report is registered, the Road Department's control center marks the site on Google Maps, and repair teams are dispatched with the necessary equipment, personnel and materials. The rapid growth of digital technologies, including computers, mobile phones and the internet, has transformed communication, and business in Nepal. However, this expansion has also brought a sharp rise in cybercrime and online harassment, particularly affecting women. According to Nepal police, the number of digital users in the country has reached 16.6 million, with 14.3 million active on social media. Cybercrime cases jumped to 119% in fiscal year 2080-81 BS compared to 2079-80, with women accounting for 44.3% of victims. Online abuse ranges from harassing messages and comments to harmful social media posts impacting both private individuals and public figures. Legal professionals warn that current legislation is inadequate to address the surge in digital crimes. While the Electronic Transactions Act 2063 and the Criminal Code 2074 cover cyber offenses, experts say more comprehensive laws are needed to protect victims and ensure timely justice. Meanwhile, following a rise in cybercrime in Nepal, Kathmandu Metropolitan City has launched a digital literacy program to help residents use online platforms safely. Spokesperson Nabin Mananda said the training will cover cybersecurity basics, strong passwords, one-time passwords, virus protection, and recognizing suspicious links. From digital literacy in Kathmandu, we turn to Dhading in central Nepal, where a government program launched in 2022 to support the marginalized Chepang community has struggled to make an impact. The initiative aimed at promoting sustainable livelihoods and economic development remains largely unknown to the people. Our colleague Rojina Rai brings you more.
सबैभन्दा कार्यक्रम त सुने हो यस्तो कार्यक्रम हामीलाई चाहिँ अहिलेसम्म गाउँपालिकाले दिएको चाहिँ छैन किताब पनि छाप्या चाहिँ भन्थ्यो अब यो यस्तो कुराहरू किताब पनि अब स्कुलमा पनि युज हुन्छ भन्नुभएको थियो त्यति जानकारी चाहिँ छैन.
In Nepal's Dhading district, a government program, Churi, Chepang and Chamero, aimed at uplifting the Chepang community, is struggling to reach its goals. The Chepang, a marginalized indigenous group in Nepal, traditionally living a semi-nomadic life, and most Chepang live below the poverty line. The program launched in 2022 under the province and local government. The Churi, Chepang and Chamero initiative seeks to boost economic and social development by conserving churi trees, planting saplings and processing churi seeds into ghee and oil for the market. But 3 years on, many Chepang households remain unaware of the program, and critical infrastructure delays have stalled the progress. While an oil pressing machine provided by the Bagmati province of the country at a cost of 5 million rupees has yet to be installed. Other side of the story, seeds collected remain unprocessed, frustrating locals who expected income opportunities. While local governments have focused on data collection, tree planting and promotions, the core aim of value addition has not begun. As a result, the program's promises to support one of Nepal's most vulnerable indigenous communities remain largely unfulfilled.
Now let's take a look at the headlines of this hour once again before the international updates. Nepal prepares to strengthen security measures ahead of March 5 elections. Prime Minister Karki stresses civilian safety. Government hikes foreign employment medical fees. Associations call for immediate reversal. World marks the Red Planet Day, exploring the mysteries and wonders of Mars. Death toll rises to 128 in Hong Kong's deadliest typo fire. Rescue operations ongoing, no Nepalese affected. Sri Lanka shuts schools and government offices as devastating floods and landslides claim 56 lives. And Kathmandu Gorkhas beat Chitwan Rhinos by 53 runs in the first NPL fixture today. Biratnagar defeats Karnali by 3 wickets in the day-night match. Sri Lanka has shut all government offices and schools as the death toll from floods and landslides across the country rose to 56. Weather in Sri Lanka turned severe last week and led to heavy downpours on Thursday, flooding homes, fields, roads and triggering landslides. More than 600 houses have been damaged so far, according to the officials. Sri Lanka is currently experiencing the northeast monsoon season, but rains have intensified due to a depression east of the island. Flooding and landslides across Indonesia's Sumatra Island have killed at least 90 people this week and dozens more are missing, rescue officials said on Friday. Heavy rain has also caused flooding in Aceh, Indonesia's westernmost province, triggering landslides and prompting the evacuation of nearly 1,500 people, according to the local disaster agency. The annual monsoon season, typically between June and September, often brings heavy rains, triggering landslides, flash floods and waterborne diseases. Russian President Vladimir Putin has doubled down on his core demands for ending the war in Ukraine, saying Russia will lay down arms only if Kyiv's troops withdraw from a territory claimed by Moscow. Putin has long pushed for legal recognition of the Ukrainian territories Russia has seized by force. They include the southern Crimean Peninsula, annexed in 2014, and the eastern Donbas region, which Moscow now occupies for the most part. For Kyiv, which has ruled out relinquishing the parts of the Donbas it still holds, rewarding Russia for its aggression is a non-starter. Speaking after Putin's address, Ukraine's President Zelensky said that Russia scorned efforts to truly end the war. He repeated his view that Russia has the initiative on the battlefield and the fighting would only end when Ukrainian troops withdrew from Donbas, which is made up of the Luhansk and Donetsk regions. We'll take another break before moving into the updates from business and sports arena.
Alphabet's Google on Friday dropped its EU antitrust complaint about rival Microsoft's cloud computing practices a week after EU regulators launched an investigation to see if Microsoft should be subject to rules aimed at curbing its power in this sector. Last year, Google took its grievance to the European Commission, alleging that Microsoft's anti-competitive practices locked customers into Microsoft's cloud platform Azure. Amazon leads the cloud computing market with a 30% share, followed by Microsoft at 20% and Google at 13%. The Commission, which acts as the EU competition enforcer, is investigating whether certain features of the cloud sector may be reinforcing Microsoft Azure and Amazon Web Services market power. The probes, due to be completed in a year, could see both services designated as gatekeepers under the EU's Digital Markets Act, subject to a list of do's and don'ts aimed at opening up markets to rivals and giving users more choices. Most markets squeezed out gains on Friday at the end of a strong week for equities, fueled by growing expectations that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates again next month. Traders took silence from New York's Thanksgiving break as a reason to have a breather and take stock of a healthy rebound from November's swoon that was sparked by AI bubble threats. However, while there's much debate on whether valuations in the tech sector are overstretched, a focus this week has been firmly on the prospect of more rate cuts. A string of top Fed officials have lined up to back a third straight reduction, mostly saying that worries over a weakening labor market trumped still elevated inflation. Attention now turns to a range of data releases over the next week or so that could play a role in the bank's final decision, with private hiring, services activity and personal consumption expenditure the Fed's preferred gauge of inflation. With the government shutdown postponing or cancelling the release of some key data, closely watched non-farm payrolls figures are now due in mid-December after the Fed's policy decision. An international conference on trade in endangered species held a vote Thursday on the protection of all types of eel. The European Union proposal that all kinds of eel, including Japanese eel, should be regulated was rejected. The meeting of the Conference of the Parties to the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, or CITES, took place in Samarkand, Uzbekistan. European eels are already protected under the pact. That means trade requires a permit issued by the exporting country. The EU and others proposed extending similar restrictions to all species. Japan opposed it, fearing prices could surge in the country if it were adopted. The government says about 70% of eels consumed domestically are imported. China and South Korea had also opposed the move. Eel farming is a major industry in both countries. The decision to reject the proposal will be finalized at a general meeting to be held from December 4th. Ticket prices for the Louvre Museum in Paris will rise by 45% for most non-European Union visitors, the museum's board decided on Thursday. From early next year, tourists from countries like the US, UK and China will have to pay €32 to enter the museum, a price hike which is expected to raise millions of euros annually to fund an overhaul of the famous gallery. The museum's security and management have faced criticism since a brazen heist in October when a four-person gang stole jewelry worth $102 million and fled within minutes. An official audit of the museum published shortly after the heist highlighted the institution's inadequate security systems and aging infrastructure.
Time for a sports update. In today's match of the Nepal Premier League at the TU International Cricket Ground in Kirtipur, Kathmandu Gorkhas overcame Chitwan Rhinos by 53 runs in a dominant first match. Batting first, Kathmandu posted 142 runs in 19.4 overs. Chitwan struggled in reply, all out for 89 runs in 17.2 overs. Sohail Tanvir was the star with the ball, taking 4 wickets, while Kamal Singh Airy and Ranjit Kumar grabbed 2 each. Dev Khanal and Ravi Bopara top scored for Chitwan with 21 runs apiece. With this win, Kathmandu rises to 3rd place with 6 points, while Chitwan drops to 4th. In the second match, Viratnagar Kings edged out Karnali Yaks, winning by 3 wickets. Chasing 161 runs, Viratnagar's Basir Ahmed smashed an unbeaten 62 off 43 balls, steering his team to victory with just 1 ball to spare. Karnali Yaks has posted 160 to 3 in their 20 overs, putting the Kings under pressure, but Viratnagar's determined batting clinched the game. Moving on, in a groundbreaking display of human endurance and international sportsmanship, Nepali and American wrestlers competed at Tilucho Lake, which is 4,919 meters in north-central Nepal, the world's highest altitude sporting venue. The event, dubbed Clash of the Titans, featured top athletes from both countries facing extreme Himalayan conditions, including thin air, frigid temperatures, and rugged terrain. Despite these challenges, the wrestlers showcased extraordinary skill, determination, and resilience. Organizers say the competition not only highlighted Tilucho Lake's stunning natural beauty, but also set a new benchmark for high-altitude sports, promoting sportsmanship between nations. The event also aimed promotion of adventure tourism in Nepal's Upper Mustang Manang region, a hub for Himalayan trekking and extreme sports. Iran is to boycott next week's World Cup finals draw in Washington because the United States refused to grant visas to several members of the delegation, the Iranian Football Federation announced on Friday. As per reports, the Iranian Football Federation has informed FIFA that the decision has nothing to do with sports and the members of the Iranian delegation will not participate in the World Cup draw. Earlier, it was said the United States had declined issuing visas to several members of the delegation, including the president of the federation, Mehdi Taj. On Thursday, Taj had denounced the decision as being a political one. The United States, which is co-hosting the FIFA World Cup 2026 with Canada and Mexico, and Iran have been at loggerheads for over 4 decades. Now the weather details first from across Nepal and then the world. Before wrapping up, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nepal prepares to strengthen security measures ahead of March 5 elections. Prime Minister Karki stresses civilian safety. Government hikes foreign employment medical fees. Associations call for immediate reversal. World marks the Red Planet Day, exploring the mysteries and wonders of Mars. Death toll rises to 128 in Hong Kong's deadliest typo fire. Rescue operations ongoing, no Nepalese affected. Sri Lanka shuts schools and government offices as devastating flood and landslides claim 56 lives. And Kathmandu Gorkhas beat Chitwan Rhinos by 53 runs in the first NPL fixture today. Viratnagar defeats Karnali by 3 wickets in the day-night match. That is all for the moment. Do join us through our social media and visit us at nepaltelevision.com for more information and news. I am Aprila Gising Lama. Thank you for watching. Good night.